What's poppin', y'all? We back with another very special episode of the Squid Game Aftermath podcast. This has been an episode I've been anticipating and waiting on for a little while now. We got my homie, my brother, my partner, my man with the nice suit on, Mr. Phill Cain, aka Player 451. What's poppin'?
Woohoo! How we doing? Very excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, man, we chilling. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling great, dude. Still coming off the high of the premiere event and the Fallon interview and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just straight cruising.
Okay. He's just cruising right now. All right. So, can you tell the peoples where you from? Because some people like, is he from Hawaii? Is he from Jersey? What's going on?
So it's understandable to be confused. So I was born in São Paulo, Brazil. I lived there until I was 8, and then my family moved to New Jersey. My mom is Brazilian and my dad is American, so I'm half and half. And then I spent most of my life in Jersey, in Watchung specifically. And then when I graduated college, I moved back to Brazil for a little bit, tried to do some teaching, but then didn't really super vibe with it. So I moved back home to Watchung, and then I knew that I wanted to go somewhere tropical because I just have tropical blood. Like the winters in the Northeast are brutal. And so I just kind of threw a dart at a map and figured that Hawaii was a cool place to go. So I moved to Oahu. I did a semester at University of Hawaii. And then I tried to get into the travel industry aspect of it because I knew that there were like jobs. But then the more I did that, the more I realized that like I didn't really want to be part of the industry that was going to end up destroying the island. So I just bounced around like a bunch of different jobs. I worked at the aquarium for a while. I worked at a Volcom store. I worked in like an office building. And then eventually I landed on scuba diving. Which is sort of what I was doing. And so for a while, like during and after the pandemic, I was kind of bouncing back and forth. So I was spending like 6 months in Hawaii and then another 6 months in Jersey. And then when I got the call for the show, I was scuba diving and cleaning pools for rich people in Hawaii. But now I'm back in Jersey.
So he from all over the place, y'all. Can't put a label on this man. You know, cleaning for the rich. That's the American dream right there. You know. Look, trust me, I've done that in my time too. My dad's a cleaning business, but okay, that all makes sense now. That all makes sense. So, why did you decide to apply for Squid Game, the challenge?
Well, I'm not gonna lie. So I have done some acting stuff in the past. My claim to fame before this was I was a CSU technician number 2 on an episode of Hawaii 5-0. So that was pretty fun. And I've always been interested in acting. I've taken some acting classes in the past, and so I have been following some casting pages. And I was actually in New Jersey. Just scrolling through. I was a little stoned, and I was just scrolling through, and then I saw an ad for the Squid Game show, and I was like, you know, it'd be so funny is if I just like applied to this right now. And so I did a little application. I did my little video, like, hey, what up, Squid Game, whatever, stoned out of my mind. And then I just kind of forgot about it for a while. And I never heard back or anything. So I figured, oh, whatever, I guess I didn't get it, whatever. I've applied to a couple other reality shows like American Idol, stuff like that, but never really heard back. So I was like, oh, whatever, it's just one of those. And then I went back to Hawaii, and then I was working. And then around I applied in, I want to say August. And then around December, I think it was around Christmas time, they gave me a call and they were like, hey, just wondering, like, are you still interested? And I'm like, I mean, I guess, but I have a job. I have 2 jobs, so I need, time to take off. So you guys got to let me know. And they were like, yeah, we'll let you know. They let me know 3 days before I flew out. And you know what? I never actually got a confirmation email. All I got was like, okay, here's your flight info. And I was like, okay, so I'm assuming that means I'm in. Like, what's going on?
Wow.
So,
yeah. They had you on the
3 days.
3 days. Well, that's fitting the theme of what we were talking about before we started this podcast. We'll just leave it at that. Well, that's pretty wild. Yeah, I met someone. Well, George, number 20. He found out the same day he found out he was on the show. He went back to the hotel.
No way. Oh my God. Was he in London?
Yeah, he lived out 2 hours north. So, but still, like the same day.
That's insane for a commitment that long. Like,
yeah.
That's wild.
That's insane. But sheesh, 3 days. That's a lot. Because you have a lot of things to do to get ready. You got to make sure your bills are paid. You got to make sure,
Yeah, and I also had to watch the original series because I hadn't done that yet either.
You applied for the show and didn't watch the regular show?
Yeah, well, I knew what it was. Like I'd seen some clips and stuff online, but I'm just not really like a gore, like bloody, like drama kind of guy. Like I like watching like happy stuff, like upbeat, like fun stuff. And so then I was like, I should probably rewatch the original series. And then as I was watching it, I was like, oh, this is like pretty intense. I hope that they don't like hurt me or anything. And they didn't. we're good. But
he's good as far as we know. You know,
Yeah.
we ain't supposed to be talking about all the extra stuff. But
Right.
yeah, he's all good and healthy and happy, and his hair's growing more lusciously than ever.
Oh, thank you. I actually did cut it from the show. The ends were getting really burnt out from being in salt water every day, and this is a lot more manageable. What I was going for was more of like a rock star vibe and less of like a, I haven't cut my hair in 3 years vibe. So,
Okay, well, it looks good. It looks good. Okay.
thank you.
One quick second. All right, we back, y'all. Sorry, pardon the interruption. But okay, so you find out you get on the show and it's time to head out. And you already explained you found out 3 days before. So the night before you're about to leave, what's kind of going through your head?
So, I mean, I don't really know what to expect. I've never done like something of like this crazy commitment before. Like I had already like secured it away with my both my bosses because I was a private contractor in Hawaii. So when I was a scuba diver and a pool cleaner, I was like on private contract, so they technically couldn't say no to me leaving. So I kind of left that with them. And then my mom was bugging. She was like, "This isn't real. Like you're gonna get kidnapped. Like what are you doing? Like whatever." And I was like, "No, Mom, it's fine. It's chill. Whatever." And honestly, like going into it, I really didn't think I was gonna be gone for a while or for that long because I just assumed like, oh, you know, like let's think about the numbers, right? There's 456 contestants. Like the chances of me getting past even just red light, green light is already pretty small. And like getting past any other games after that is also like even smaller and smaller. So like I'll be gone for a couple of days, maybe a week, something like that. And I had actually, I'd booked a trip with my partner who was who was living in Jersey at the time and was going to come and visit me in Hawaii. And we were like, oh, you know what? Let's just keep the dates, you know, no problem. Like I'll be back in no time, whatever. And the other thing is I told everyone, like I broke my contract so hard. Like I told literally everyone and their mother, like, oh my God, I'm going to be on the new Squid Game show, like whatever. And so then when I got back, I was like, oh shoot, I really shouldn't have told that many people. Like,
Well, it's okay. They probably were like you, like I ain't seen it either. What are you talking about? Squid? What?
yeah, I know, literally, because I didn't know it was going to be that big of a deal. I did not think I was going to make it as far as I did. So
Okay. Well, this man was chilling. You know, you going in there with, you know, reasonable expectations, which is smart because no pressure, you know? So I think that's the
Exactly.
best kind of way to go into
I
it.
was there to vibe, get a free trip to London, eat some good food, which I did not. But you know,
We got to get this man back to London soon. We got to get him back because, you know, London isn't known for their great, you know, foods, but I know they got some good stuff out there, like some good crisps and fish and chips.
They did take me out for fish and chips when I got out. They did put me on like a hardcore like suicide watch for like 24 hours, as you can imagine. And they were like, "Oh, like you have to try the fish and chips." And I was like, "Okay." So then they brought me to the fish and chips place, and I tried it, and I was like, "Okay, this is fine." And then they were like, "No, you have to try the mushed peas, dude. The mushed peas here are so good." And I'm like, "Mushed peas? Like you mean like peas that are like squished?" And they were like, "Yeah, like it's a delicacy." And I'm like, "A delicacy? Okay, sure, I'll try it." And then I tried it. And it literally just it was just gross. Like it was disgusting. I was like, is this what passes for food with you people? Like what the
Interesting. They had to feed this man because he was on bridge watch. You know, don't let him too close to the bridge, y'all.
Yeah, for
He was on
real.
bridge watch. Well, so we fly out finally, and then we quarantine for a couple of days, and then it's time to head to the first game. So when you get on the bus, head to the first game. What's going on through your head?
So, I mean, I'm cold. All right. I'm hungry. I am still adjusting to the time zone because London is 10 hours ahead of Hawaii. So I was already like bugging. I traveled for like 32 hours to get to London. And then I like barely slept and I was just like still adjusting. So I was just like zonked out of my mind, just like, all right, whatever, let's get this over with. I'm sure it'll be fun, whatever. But then that's when I started to notice like how nice everybody was, because like at first I was kind of worried. I was like, oh my God, like they're going to cast like all these like classic reality show types, or they're going to be like really mean or like really dramatic. And then like, the more I talked to people, which we weren't like supposed to do, like as the like before the show started, but like, you know, we're a bunch of humans stuck on a bus on the way to God knows where. So we did start talking to each other, and I was like, oh wow, like everyone here is really nice. Like I think I could actually make some friends, and so that was really nice.
Yeah, everyone was pretty dope. So you making a few friends on the bus, and then we finally pull up to the hangar, whatever that place was called, and we see that it's red light, green light. Of course, we knew that from before because they told us. But when you first walk into the red light, green light arena, tell me what goes on through your head.
I mean, I'm just like shocked at the production value of the whole set. Like that place was massive. It was like the size of a soccer field. Like they had like LED lights like every square foot in the ceiling. They had like motion detectors on everyone. It was like a whole thing. There was like hundreds of not even just cast, but like crew too, like running the show. And so I was just like shocked at like how much money they were spending on it. And kind of in that moment is when I realized like, oh, like this is going to be huge.
Yeah. No, that was the wake up call. Like, okay, this is not, Disney World or some amusement park just throwing something together. This is the real deal. And so we get in there and we go through the little practice round, and then it's time for the real deal. What's your strategy going into this?
So I mean, I'm like generally pretty athletic. I have a gold medal in quad ball. I was on the Brazilian national team as well. So like I was kind of like ready to flex that a little
I
bit.
didn't know that. Quam ball. What is quam ball?
Quad ball.
Quad ball? What is that?
Yeah, it's like a cross between rugby, dodgeball, and handball. So it's a kind of a new sport, but it's a lot of fun. It's gender inclusive and it's full contact. No pads, no helmets, just balls.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look this up.
Yeah. So it's fun. So I was kind of trusting like my athletic instinct. I was like, all right, I'll probably be fine. But the thing I was most worried about, honestly, was just like shivering because it was so cold in there. All we had was like the tracksuits to protect us, and like they gave us some like light thermals or whatever. But like I'm coming from Hawaii, where like the sun is always shining. It's always like beautiful and warm. And I already am a person that can't handle the cold. So I feel like I was already at a huge disadvantage when I got there. So that was kind of the main thing I was worried about. I was like, wow, I cannot wait to get this over with. I cannot wait to see them finish this game in 15-20 minutes tops, and then we're out of here.
Exactly. 15-20 minutes, we out of here. It's only a 10-minute game. And so we get the game started, and the doll starts singing, and we start running, and you get in your first pose. You're there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. What are you thinking right now?
Well, so I didn't think it was going to take that long to shoot, obviously. But my problem was I was kind of stuck at the back of like the crowd, and so I didn't even cross the starting line until the second round of running. And so the first one, I was just kind of like waiting for people to move in front of me.
You didn't move at all the first one?
Like pretty much, no. I mean, I shuffled like a little bit, but then the second one, I really got screwed because it came, I don't know, I guess just like faster than I thought it would. And so I did catch myself with like most of my weight on one of my legs. And I was like, oh my God, am I really about to get out literally on the starting line? Like this is going to be so embarrassing.
You hit him with one of these.
Yeah,
man.
no, literally. It was so silly.
That's the worst pose, but dang, they got you, man. That's exactly where they wanted you. And we was held there for a little bit, but yeah, you slowly creeping your way forward, hour by hour, inch by inch, and you find yourself within grasp of the finish line, and you see it attainable. What's going through your head?
I'm like, oh my God, like I might actually make it through, which is crazy because like literally during none of the games that I ever think like, wow, yeah, like I have a reasonable chance at making this. Like every single one, I was like, you know what, this is fun, but if I don't make it, whatever. But then seeing it that close, I'm like, oh my God, like, okay, like just breathe. It's going to be fine. Like relax. Like what I was doing was I was kind of trying to like meditate a little bit and trying to like calm my mind and like not really think about too much or whatever. Cause like you really, like you can't talk to anyone because you can't like run your mouth. And so all you have is just your thoughts. And so I was like, making a little game where I was like counting all the people in front of me, and then all of a sudden there were no people left, and I was like, oh my God, okay, just like keep your cool, it's fine, just sprint it on the last one.
Okay, he sprints it, Olympic finish. He's used to doing all this global finishing and gold medal earning, and he completes, and 4-5-1 moves on to the next round. Everything is going exactly as planned, except for the cold.
Yeah.
And so we hightail it out of there, and then we get ready to go into the dorms. So when you first step into the dorms, what's kind of going through your head?
Well, I'm just excited to be there, honestly. I mean, again, like I'm just like every single set that we went to, I was shocked at the production value. I was shocked at how much money Netflix was pouring into this thing. And I was like, wow, all right, like this is really going to be huge. Like even though I just made it this far, like I'm sure that I'll get some camera time. Like this will be like a huge show, like super stoked to be a part of it. And honestly, like a lot of people, okay, so I kind of describe myself, how do I say this? Okay. So, when you're in a grocery store in your hometown and you're walking around and you're like kind of like shuffling like this and you see somebody that you might know, but you're not really sure, the light's kind of dim, you're not really sure. I'm the person that you're scared to see because I love talking to people. I love making new friends. I love like just chatting it up. And so that was like the perfect opportunity to do that because we had no cell phones, no outside contact, 456 brand new friends. And I just kind of hit the ground running, just start talking to people, start vibing. And like, I'm a little sleepy at first because I'm still kind of adjusting to the time zone, like I'm still kind of getting used to like just the whole, like, just like the massiveness of it all. But pretty soon I like find my little clique, like we like kind of start hanging out. I usually gravitate a little bit more towards like the outcasts and like people that you don't super think are cool. And that definitely is what carried through, I think, most of the game. It was just like my little clique.
Okay. So that was, that was you kind of so-called strategy is, you find the people that you want to be with. So who are these people that you get close with?
So the people I was the closest with was, we call ourselves Little Breakfast Club. And it wasn't like a really like a formal alliance, like, oh, like, we have this strength and this strength. It was literally like bonded like through legitimate friendship. And so we had me, we had Jackie, we had Rachel, we had Tabitha, Scott, and Alex, Don't ask me what their numbers are because I simply could not tell you. I could barely remember my own number at times. But that was kind of like our core little group. And then we eventually adopted Sam into it as well, kind of like an honorary member. But that was like definitely my core little group for like the first like week or two until everybody started to drop like flies.
Man, flies was dropping. So you talking about Alex from New Zealand, right?
No. Alex Sue from Michigan.
Oh, got it. Got it, Alex. Cool.
Yeah.
Just making sure. Shout out Alex. Shout out Alex. Okay, so you got your little clique right now, the Breakfast Club. Why did y'all call yourselves the Breakfast Club?
Well, we kind of saw each other as like outcasts, and we didn't really like, we had all like, I think different personality types is the thing. Like I was like a little bit more outgoing, and then some of them were a little bit more reserved, and then like everybody had their own like own little unique trait and stuff. And so we that's like kind of what we felt like. We were like, oh, like people that were like really different that maybe normally wouldn't interact in the real world, all of a sudden being brought together. Oh my God, excuse me. It's like common.
So you can burp as much as you want on here, man. We do what we want on here, man.
Thank you. Just sort of like that common, just not really being able to relate to other people type vibe.
I definitely understand that, and I respect you for going out there and sticking to who you are as a person instead of kind of find people who maybe could help you out in the game. You sticking true to the people who you vibe with, and that pays dividends 100%. So we stay in there for a little bit. We soon find out that player 200 is eliminated. What's going through your head?
Oh my God, I honestly felt so bad because I liked Monty. I thought he was cool. We were like doing like little like children's games and stuff. He taught us the bang one where we would like all stand in a circle and he would be in the middle and be like, oh, like whatever, and then we'd have to like duck or like shoot the person next to us, and it was really fun and it was a great way to pass the time. But I think unfortunately him just like being so upfront, like in front of everyone, just kind of put a target on his back, I guess. But like I really don't think he deserved that. Like he was such a cool dude.
Didn't deserve it, man. Justice for 200.
For real.
Because he got screwed the worst out of anybody in the whole entire show.
He really did.
Like,
yeah.
He didn't know who eliminated him. He didn't know what was going on. And I mean,
yeah, he was there for like 2 seconds too. Like, and made only a good, like from what I saw, only a good impact. Like, was just super nice, super genuine, wanted everybody to get along. And just unfortunately, I guess he was loud, and that's what brought attention to him. But you hate to see it.
Hate to see it, but unfortunately, that's how the game seems to be working so far. And so we move forward to the second game. We walk into the white room for the first time. We see these 4 lines. What are you thinking?
Well, I knew from watching the show that Dalgona was probably next, and that's what everybody kind of was anticipating. And so we figured like, okay, these are the shape lines, but like certainly it's not going to be like, oh, the 4th line is going to be Umbrella for sure. Like I'm sure they're going to throw a little twist, and sure enough, they did. I wanted to be in a line with all of my friends. Like from the beginning, I always emphasize like, we're a family, we stick together. And what do? They all go to different lines because they're like, nope, one of us is going to make it. This increases our statistical likelihood of making it. And I'm like, dudes, what about family? Like, have y'all not seen Fast and the Furious? Like what? And so, and I knew that I didn't want to be in front too, because I was like, you know what? They're probably going to have to make the person either at the front of the line or the back of the line do some messed up stuff. And they're probably going to have to pick, and it's going to be a whole thing. And I don't want any part of that. I'm just going to like cruise for now, see what happens. So that's what I did. I just picked the 3rd line, and then I'm kind of chilling in the back.
Okay. Smart decision. So low key. And so we find out ultimately that the people in the front, like you thought, had to make the decisions. So 1st line can't make a decision. Boom, they're out. 2nd line can't make a decision. Boom, they're out. 3rd line finally makes a decision, and you are left with oh my gosh, the star man right here. This is his shape. Ironically, it's the only one I have, so we got fortunate. I did not plan for that to happen, y'all. I just had it. But yes, if you want your cookies, go to sugarartsupply.com, y'all. They got some real Dalgona cookies, so give them a try, and maybe Phil will do a video of his own to show him how he got through the star. So actually, this will be perfect. We have the star right here. You ain't got to take it out or anything like that. But you at the star, when you get in there, what's your process through getting through the star to help the people back at home? This is the only time I've been able to do this because I have the star and the star is here. So you can take this out. You can take that out of the pin or show people what you did.
Yeah. So as you can see, it is in the shape of a star, and the cookie is very thin, but not that thin. And so immediately a lot of us had seen the original show, and so we knew that we had to like spit into it or whatever. I personally am like so disgusted by like saliva and stuff that I like could not bring myself to like really just like, like into it. The dude behind me, when we were starting, like for the 10 minutes it took them to like hit the start button or whatever, he was literally just like, like, oh my God, I literally almost gagged. I was like, this is disgusting. I don't know if I can do this. But then I opened my tin, and I honestly got super duper lucky. The star that I picked, was the impression of it was like mostly already done. And so I was like, yo, let's go. We're in it. And so then I just kind of like take my time. Like, I'll do like a little, little spit into it or whatever, kind of like brush around the edges. And I get to it. I think I was like more towards the end, but it was relatively quick because it was already like halfway done, which I was like a godsend. That was awesome. And like super random too, because the way they had us pick was they just had like a bunch of them, like a bunch of the tins just lined up and you just kind of picked whichever one. And so that was super clutch.
Okay, so you just traced around and spit a little bit, and then you good, coach. It's easy as that. Y'all try it at home.
Mhm.
Get your stars and cookies, man. Get your stars and cookies.
Ooh.
Well, this man makes it through easily, unscathed. Everything is going exactly as planned. And so we get up out of there, and it's time to get back into dorms. And soon we see this phone pop up. Are you thinking about grabbing this phone?
So I actually did grab the phone, like right when they first brought it out. I knew that they hadn't like hooked it up or anything. They were just doing it for show. They literally like brought it out, and then oh my god, like monkeys, like we were all like, ooh, like new object, like like whatever, getting close to it. And I was like, it'd be so funny is if this was actually attached, and I'm gonna call my parents right now. So I picked it up, I dialed my home phone number, and then nothing happened, and I was like, bummer. All right, whatever. And then I put it down, and then immediately lost interest. So, but people were around it like all day, like like player 198 literally standing next to that thing the entire day.
Well, yeah, and then 198. So he had a theory. His theory was, I don't know if you've heard it or not. Mm-hmm. So he thought the phone was going to be able to give him the power to eliminate someone, and he wanted to eliminate 432.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why he knew if anyone else picked it up, he was probably going to be eliminated.
That's true. Yeah, I did see that.
So
clever guy. It's so funny, like seeing like so many people come after Brighton, and then him just like on main, like trying to like defend himself, all this stuff, and then player 198 is fully out there being like, no, like I was the villain, like everyone hated me, and it's like, like it's just very funny to see because they gave him such a good edit, like you would never know.
Oh yeah, I thought they were gonna show a lot more.
Yeah, he was pretty universally disliked.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, he picks up the phone eventually twice, and it's shipped out there like an Amazon Prime package, and it's direct to his house the same day. We don't have to wait a day to get the package. And so yes, he is gone, and soon it is time to go to the third game, and we walk into the white room again, and now we see 8 lines. Now what do you think?
So, I mean, we assumed that it would be tug of war. That's what we thought it was going to be. The 8 lines make sense. And then all of a sudden it's chaos because the way the math works out is I think 2 of the lines were going to have 1 less person each. And so that line would technically be at a disadvantage. And I kind of had my suspicions going in because I knew that they wouldn't be able to recreate tug of war in like a safe way. And so we were wondering like, I wonder if there's just going to be like a not directly connected rope or like something like that. But we assumed that strength was going to be a part of it, which is why all those like big, dudes were like, oh, I'll stay in my line. You're gonna stay in my line. And so I actually was in a line with a bunch of other people. I was in one of like the full lines, but then a lot of other people were gravitating towards that line. And then it got to the point where it was kind of getting chaotic and people started to be kind of mean to each other. And they're like, oh, get the heck out, like whatever. And to me, that kind of killed my vibe a little bit. And I was like, I don't know if I want to be stuck with these people specifically. And then I see the poor, other line is still missing people. And if I think it was like, if they don't fill out like the maximum number of people in their lines, then they will be eliminated or something like that. And so I was like, well, I don't want to be, part of the problem. And so I actually did kind of something dramatic. I didn't really show this in the clip, but I stood up and I was like, I will go. And then I walk over to the other line. And then we're, I think, still missing a couple people. And then my boy Scott, shout out to Scott, comes over, saves our butts, and then we're able to have like the 14-person line or whatever. And then going into the game, like we were like, we knew that we were at kind of a disadvantage because we weren't like all super strong, but like we had some like athletes in there, we had some stuff, so we knew that we would give them the fight for their money. And then it opens up and we see it's Warships, and we're like, and I'm like lit because Scott, my boy that came over, runs an escape room in San Diego. And so we're like, we got the most stacked team. Like this guy's like a friggin' strategist. Like he's going to get us out of here. No problem. And so from then on, I was like, you know what? I trust this dude. Like we're going to be chilling.
Okay. Y'all was chilling. So you guys had Scott and Tyler. That's right. Shout out Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler was on the podcast. So Scott and Tyler as your captain and co-captain.
Mm-hmm.
And so you guys, you're hyped because it's not tug of war, and you guys, it's a fair chance to kind of, take care of business. But unfortunately, this game has a turn. I know exactly. It has a short turn to it, and your team ultimately loses this game. Mm-hmm. You guys lose a handful of team members and the captains. what's going on in your head once you like found out you guys lost, even though you're safe, but you guys lost?
I mean, I was pretty bummed. That was like the first time that I lost like real like friends that I had like had spent a few days with. Scott was our captain, and he really did a good job. I think it was just like bad luck, but he was strategizing really well. He was doing well to like listen to everybody. He was really fair about it, but just unfortunately, the cards fell. And we ended up losing. And then my friend Alex was in the other boat that did sink. And I told her at the beginning, I was like, we need to be in the same boat. This family is going to go down together. And she wouldn't let me. Can you believe? And so I'm like crying and she's crying. And it's like a whole Scott's crying. It's like a whole thing. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this without you guys. And like, meanwhile, like Jackie and Rachel are in like another group. And so I don't even know if they're going to make it through. And I'm like, oh my God, like if I end up alone, I'm not going to have any friends. Like it's going to be terrible. Like my people, my family. And so I'm like bugging. But anyway, yeah. So that was like the first big like kind of like emotional moment for me was losing them.
Okay, well, you had some. I mean, look, you had a majority of the people that you had leave. It was just Alex. I think that was the only one.
And Scott.
And Scott, yeah, and Scott that left the group. R.I.P. to y'all. Squid Game universe people. But yeah, it's bittersweet. Your team is losing, so you got to go in there and kind of make maybe some new friends and whatnot. So it might be time to hit the ground running again with the whole social aspect. But congratulations, you make it past regardless. Thank you. And 451 is moving on. His adventure keeps going and going. And so we get back into the dorms finally, and the person above says you have 2 tests before the next game, and before this test, the first test basically is they bring out this Pac-Man looking machine, you put numbers in it, and eventually 3 people have to be voted out. And so when you hear these rules, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking that anyone is fair game right now because there aren't I think the good and bad part about the cast is that like everybody was genuinely really nice and most people got along really well. There was like, little beefs here and there, but for the most part, like it was a really nice cast. But then that was in a way bad because that means like anybody could be a target. And so I knew that, I figured like whoever like the first person that they're going to put up there is going to end up getting most of the votes because like everyone's going to feel bad to put anybody else up there. And the fact that they like broadcast their face in front of everyone too is insane. So I like knew I didn't want to be the first person in line. That's like ridiculous. And I was also worried about being the last in line because I was like, oh my God, like the whole pressure is could be on me or whatever. So I kind of picked a place in the middle and I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to kind of have to go through whatever happens.
Hey, whatever happens. And we find out that 330 Dr. V, 374 Andy, and 161 Lorenzo are sent off the island.
Yeah, dude, rest in peace, Andy. He was actually really nice.
Yeah, he was really nice.
I think he lives in Queens, actually. Dude, we should hang out, Andy.
Yeah, Andy, come out and hang out.
Yeah, he's a super nice guy. He taught us like a bunch of like little games too to pass the time. Like real cool dude. He was actually the first one that I met because we hung out in the when we were waiting to like do all our paperwork in the hotel, like after I had just gotten there. I had kind of assumed that it would be like a big like international cast, and so whenever like international people ask me where I'm from, I always just say New York because nobody knows where New Jersey is. And so we like get there, and then he's like the first person I talked to, and then he was like, oh, like where are you from? And I'm like, oh, New York. And then he's like, oh no way, me too. And I'm like, and he's like, oh, like where are you from? And I was like, okay, I'm actually from New Jersey. That was really embarrassing.
Getting sketched out already.
Yeah, no,
I was like, I'm not lying. I thought you just international person.
Yeah.
So yes, those 3 get voted out. Who do you vote for?
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I did vote for Lorenzo because I didn't know him super well, and the only like thing that I had seen him do, like I had seen him like being like a little dramatic and a little spicy and stuff. Like I did think it was funny. I didn't know if he was just like that or if he's just Italian or like what the deal is. But I kind of didn't really like his thing with Leanne. Like I thought that was maybe just like a little over the top.
Why do you think it was over the top?
Well, I don't know. I feel like at that point I had met Leanne and I knew that she was just like a very kind, sweet lady. And so I kind of like trusted her to like suss out the vibe. And so if it's somebody that like she didn't really like, that was like already kind of a red flag. And then when he went over and was like, oh, I don't know if it's whatever number or whatever, and I was like, come on, dude, like you didn't have to do that. And I feel like unfortunately that did kind of put a target on his back for like the rest of the line too.
Well,
so I don't know if I was alone in that.
He was on the podcast and he said that he was near the end of the line, so at that point he knew he was going home already. So that's why he did that. And so that was pretty much the reason why you decided to vote for him.
Pretty much, yeah. Because I mean, I didn't really talk to him. I didn't really know like what his deal was, but just like I mean, from just watching that, I was like, oh, I don't know if I want this guy around. Like if I have to choose somebody, like, and he's like already probably gonna go home anyway. Like I'd feel less bad doing it, but Can I just say the thing that shocked me the most about the show, watching it back, was his outfit. It was fantastic, Lorenzo. Bravo. Seriously. Fantastic.
That man in that outfit.
Yeah.
That was the shock of the show.
It was.
Everyone was like, whoa, where did this come
For
from?
real. I've seen some of his TikToks too, and I saw one recently that he put out the other day, and he keeps referring. I don't think he knows my name, and I think he keeps referring to me as like the hippie guy. Like, oh yeah, like my top 3, like I don't know, like Mai was okay, like Sam was okay, whatever, and like the hippie guy, like I don't know.
I think I saw
really
that too.
funny.
TikTok.
Yeah.
I saw that when he was talking about people.
Yeah.
He kept going through Leanne and Trey.
Yeah.
Oh, that
pretty
was
funny.
hilarious. Okay.
Dude, Lorenzo's a real one.
Yeah,
though.
shout
Mad
out
respect.
Lorenzo.
Yeah.
Shout out Lorenzo. Oh my gosh. Well, they get sent out, and then it's time for the second test, and we find out that the guards bring out these 6 boxes. They bring out 6 boxes, and they need 5 volunteers that go up there. Are you thinking about volunteering?
Yeah, you have such a clear memory of this thing. Like I could not tell you like in what order any of the games happened.
I
And,
told
like,
this story a lot.
My
so.
mind is so scrambled.
That's why I'm here to help.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
that's
just
true,
ask you.
that's
So, what do you think about this?
You're a very good host.
Well, thank you. I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
Oh wow. Yeah, so they bring out the Jack in the Box, and like at that point, like I had kind of noticed a trend where it's like the first people to volunteer for something usually go home pretty quickly, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just take a step back. Like I don't know if I need to be involved in this right now. And so then like the however many people were chosen, and then they go and do their Jack in the Box, and lo and behold, it's a super stressful situation, and I'm just like, whoo, thank God I was not a part of that. But at the same time, now I'm technically a target.
Yeah.
And so what I honestly in situations like that, what I did a lot was I had my hair really long, and I would just like kind of put it in front of my number or whatever, and just like zip up my jacket and just like not be and like stand in the back and just like not be seen, because I knew at that point that like nobody had known everyone in that dorm that well. And so a lot of these decisions are like, I think the thing with Adam too, like a lot of it just came down to like, oh, I don't really know this person, so I don't feel bad for eliminating them. And so I didn't want to be that person. And so I just kind of like sunk back a little bit, like kind of covered my number, just kind of like chilled out and just kind of like waited it out, and it worked. So
Okay, it worked. So yeah, the people were up there. It was 183 Jesse, 229 Felicia, 130 Jacobin, 87 Kyle, and why am I missing the last one? 87 Kyle, 130 Jacobin, 229 Felicia.
oh, Joel.
375 Joel, yes.
Yeah.
And Jesse.
Mhm.
So you weren't worried about none of these people voting on?
I wasn't too worried. I mean, I honestly hadn't really spoken to a lot of them. I think I hung out with Felicia a little bit, but that was pretty much it. Oh, and Joel slept above me for a little bit. But other than that, I didn't really super know anybody. So I was like, you know what? Nah, sure.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Yes, you make it through that little extermination, and we move it on. All you and your friends and allies are still alive in the game up to this point, alive in the game.
Yeah.
And we move on.
And that scene was like the first time that I realized that we actually were doing alliances. I didn't know that was a thing. Because they would ask us that in like interviews, like, oh, like who's in your alliance, like who's whatever. And I'm like, I don't think we have an alliance. Like we're just kind of chilling, like we're just friends, like whatever. And that's to me what it looks like. Everybody else was like, oh, like everybody's hanging out with everybody. Like there's no like alliances or anything. And then everybody's like, oh, this person's in alliance with this person and this person. And I'm like, we were doing that this whole time, like.
Some people was. I mean, they asked me the first day, like, who are you close with and who's your alliance and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, nobody. I don't know.
My pals. We're just good pals.
Exactly.
I said that in the show. I was like, I literally thought we were just like good pals. Like I thought that's what this was.
Exactly. But that's not the motive of the show. People are doing right now.
Yeah.
And so we move, and soon it's time. Well, people go and do this chore, and they complete it successfully, and they say, okay, you guys earned a reward. It's time for a picnic. And they bring out the picnic blankets and baskets. What are you thinking when they bring this out?
So in hindsight, I really just feel like the dumbest person on earth, because like when they said over the loudspeaker, like, hey, like enjoy this treat, no problems, no strings attached or whatever. I'm like, okay, great. Like, let's just have some fun. I knew that there was oranges too, and I love orange juice. And so I was just really excited for that. And then of course I'm like looking to sit in the picnic, like with my friends, and then they like go to space. Like I didn't see them anymore after that because they were just like, nope, we're not going to be partnered up. Like it's going to be something, it's going to be marbles, it's going to be whatever. And I'm like, no, you guys, like they said it was fine. Like they said it was a treat. Like it's no problem. But they didn't trust it. So then I get paired up with Brad, just because we were standing next to each other. And then Brad's just like super nice guy, like whatever, we're vibing, like the picnic is there, we're eating the food. And then I'm like digging into the thing because I'm like, oh, like I wonder if there's a secret compartment. And there was. And there were marbles in it. And then I'm like, shit, because Brad has been practicing all of these games for 6 months, literally since the moment he found out he was casted, which is like 6 months ago at this point. And he's been like practicing and like whatever, like doing strategy and stuff. And like I didn't do any of that. And so I'm like, oh my God, like this is where I go out. Well, you know what? It's been a good run, whatever. But I honestly, I'm glad that it's Brad, because Brad, it was just like a really sweet, like nice guy, like very easy to talk to, very easy to get along. Like we bonded over like some stuff in there too. And he's just like a silly guy. So I knew that. And like my whole thing is like, I knew that if I were to like get eliminated or get camera time in any way, like I wanted it to be silly. And I knew that Brad was a perfect person to do that with.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a good time to get silly. Unfortunately, they did not show y'all playing marbles really.
Nope.
So
I mean, it was mostly just me crying the whole time. So that might be why, but
oh my God.
Well, because they were like, oh, like, you know, tell us like your little story and like, you know, be like whatever. And I'm just like, oh, I'm sorry, Brad. And it was so funny too. Like our game, like first of all, I don't think like 90% of people were like smart enough to figure out like how to actually play marbles. So I think that's why everybody just did like the throwing it in the whole thing. And so that's what we did too. And me and Brad, we played. I sunk the first one, and then neither of us made any more after that. So I literally won by that one first marble, which is like crazy.
Yeah, that's what he was telling me. He told me you guys did some practice rounds. Yeah. He was winning all the practice rounds.
And I was like, shit, like all my years of college playing Pong, like for nothing.
Yeah, but then when it's time to come up clutch in the fourth quarter, you turn Kobe Bryant jersey on and you sink the only game shot.
Dude, yeah, for real. Yeah, then I mean it was tragic because like, you know, losing Brad kind of sucked, but and the thing is like we had talked about it too. We were like, okay, like whichever one of us gets eliminated, like let's make it so silly. Let's like like smear like the squib stuff on the wall and be like, oh my God, and be so silly. And he did, but they did not show any of it. All they did was just like cut to him like already like laying on the ground, and I was like, no, that was the best part.
Release the tapes.
Yeah.
Release the tapes.
For real.
Well, you know, you come victorious through marble, so congratulations. This man is, you know, fighting his way through by thick and thin and the last hair on his chinny chin. And we move on to back to the dorms. And when we get back to the dorms, the announcer person above and slash guards say that it's time to select a leader. And when everyone hears this and they select TJ as the leader, are you down with this?
I mean, yeah, like I think TJ had shown some leadership qualities until that point. Like he would always like bring us into like a little Friday Night Lights like huddle or whatever, like before every game, and so I kind of enjoyed that. But mostly, I mean, he was the first to volunteer, and I was like, yeah, I don't want that job. So you know, whoever wants it, go for it, whatever. But he seemed like I think a reasonable choice because I knew that he would at least try to be fair, which was cool. And so I at least trusted him to do that. And like again, like we didn't know like what it was gonna be, so like you know who like does it really matter? Like at this point, like you know just let it happen. And,
yeah.
YOLO, as the kids say.
Yeah, YOLO. We don't know what's going on. And so during this time, I guess since there's a big chunk of people lost between 63 and now it's 31. How are you feeling with 31 people left too?
Well, at this point, it was like the first time that I started to realize, like, oh my God, like I'm actually pretty like set up in this. Like, I feel like I'm a main character now, which is like pretty cool. Like, I really like every single game that we played. I was like, you know what, like this was fun, but like if I go out now, like I'm at peace with it. Like this has been a good ride, like whatever. But then at this point, I was like, oh, I think I want to keep doing this. Like, I think I actually really want to win. Like, you know,
sitting in now, sitting in. Okay, you can see clearly now. The rain is gone.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we find out that TJ is safe for the next round, and we're doing a pretty much safety chain. And you know, one person picks the next, they pick the next, and they're all safe. And so, when this starts, I'll go through the list, and then if you need to stop me, you can stop me. If you need to say something about any of these things that transpire, I'll stop myself and ask you some things. But if there's something that you feel, so TJ goes first, and he picks mine. How you feeling about that? Are you surprised?
I'm not really surprised. I think that was a respectable choice. I knew that they had like kind of like been close and like talked and stuff, and so I think it was a reasonable choice.
Okay. And then my pick's Chad, obviously.
They're homies.
They're homies. Then Chad picks Mikey, which has kind of been controversial a little bit. But these aren't your close friends or anything like that, so it has nothing to do with you per se.
To me, at this point, it was like the other side of the dorm, who I like had known and talked to, but like wasn't super close with, so I wasn't really like necessarily surprised at any of the decisions.
Yeah. And so then Mikey picks Marina, and then Marina says she's gonna get the ball rolling. She picks B. Then B picks Amanda.
Yeah.
And then Amanda gives a speech talking about, the women need to stick together and whatnot. How are you feeling about when you hear this speech?
Yeah, so I kind of agreed with her in that moment. Like I had seen them hanging out and like doing their whole little like women click thing, which I'm not gonna lie, like I was a little hurt to be excluded from, because I'm gender fluid, so I don't really identify as male or female. I kind of identify as both. And at that point, I was like, oh, girls, gays, and days, like it's us sticking together. And so when I saw them together, like they didn't really extend me an invite, which like kind of stung a little bit. But I also like I understand, because like I think the gender spectrum is not something that like everybody really has like a solid grasp of, like especially different demographics, different like countries, stuff like that. And I know that them being with each other like as women like had more to do with like them being like sticking together for like group strength, because they individually could be like passed over for an opportunity because of their gender. And that's not something that would necessarily happen to me, because a lot of people like see me and they think, oh, this is a guy. And so because of that, I do walk around with a lot more privilege than they would. And so that I definitely like understood. And so her like little speech of like, oh, women need to stick together, like all that stuff. I'm like, you know what, I'm so for it. Like if this is how I go out, like whatever, like, hoping that I make it, because I am like, I am also kind of on the minority spectrum or whatever. But if I don't, like, I kind of understand.
Okay. It makes sense. And so then Amanda picks Jackie.
And then she picks Jackie. I'm like, that's my boy. That's my boy.
Oh, after this rousing speech and his dog gets picked and all his hope comes alive. He's like, look. So are you thinking, no, but the thing is, he just gave this speech. Do you really think she's going to pick you?
So that's the thing. I mean, I think Jackie was put again, like a lot of these decisions that were made in this game, like were kind of impossible decisions, because like, like there's so many things to consider. There's like the morality, the ethics, like the, everything, the friendships to consider. And so I don't really like fault anyone during the whole game for making any decision, because like with the pressure of everything too, like so many people looking at you, the camera's looking at you, like a lot of people's minds just go blank and they just don't really know what to do. And so at that point, I know that like Jackie is like an honest person, somebody who like really cares about like diversity and inclusion and stuff like that. And so in that moment, I was like, you know what, like if she were to pick like a woman, like I think that would really make sense, and I think that would be in character, and that's something that I think would ultimately be a good decision. Obviously, I'm like secretly hoping, I'm like, oh, but Jackie knows I'm gender fluid, so like maybe she'll like whatever. And then she did, and I was so incredibly grateful, like so. Oh my God, like I could cry. Like it was such an honor to be chosen in that moment, because in that moment I really felt seen, like not just as like a friend to Jackie, but like because of my gender, like I really felt like noticed and included. And so that was really awesome. But then the pressure was kind of on me to kind of keep that chain going. Which
I'm gonna pause you real quick, because there's a little controversy going on. So you get picked next, but then Jackie whispers in your ear, and I heard through the grapevine that y'all got a little stern talking to about this. So you guys were not allowed to talk.
Oh yeah, no, we were.
So you were not allowed to talk, but she does whisper something in your ear, and that is against the rules.
Yeah. So
what's going on, man?
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't expect her to, but she, she did whisper into my ear, "Please pick a woman," and I'm like, okay. Okay, I will consider that. Thank you.
Well, some of the guys that had that were eliminated in this episode, or in this specific game test. They felt like that was against the rules.
Yeah, I guess in a way it was, but I'm gonna be so honest. I would have picked a woman anyway. So
there you go, people. There you go.
Yeah.
See?
I mean, like low-key, like I did. So actually, in that moment, I did kind of want to pick Sam, because Sam was somebody that I had already like grown very close to. Like he is gay, so he is also like kind of like on the minority spectrum, and so I think like it would make sense to pick him. But like first of all, like I think women are in this situation specifically like in a very precarious situation, because like they're already like perceived as being like weaker or like not as important in like this like game kind of atmosphere that's like obviously very male dominated in this moment. And so I knew that was like a little bit more important of an aspect to lean into, but also just like the pressure of being on camera. Like I didn't want to look like a misogynist on camera. You know what I mean? Yeah. But also like I knew that Sam, like there was a chance that Sam still could make it, because just like the numbers that it would work out. And so what I did, and they didn't really show this, but I really drew it out and I made it super dramatic. I was like, oh, like the person I'm going to choose is like somebody who I've become very close to and like share a bunk with, like really making it seem like I was going to pick Sam. And I was like, and it's going to be Ashley. And then I literally felt like the whole room just go like, and I was like, that's good TV, baby.
They didn't show your speech.
I know,
Man, they keep
it's so
skipping your
fun.
stuff out, man.
I did so much silly dramatic stuff like in every moment, and they cut literally all of it out. But
they kept one little piece, which we'll get to soon.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, they had to keep that part in, but we'll
Yeah.
get to that part. But yeah, they missing a whole big old funny plot. I think because the show, they're trying to be serious.
Yeah.
Show. You know, I think in the show, I was like, oh, they need to make this show funny.
Mhm.
This would be a great comedy. Like this, people are acting silly, dying during red light, green light. The Dalgona is kind of like a hilarious thing. They showed a lot of comedy with that.
Yeah.
Like
every time the guards would come out and be like, "Hey, yo, what up, Squarehead? Like, what you got for us today?"
I think, yeah, 100%. I think if you went the comedic route, that would have just like turned it up a notch. And people would have been dying. Like,
yeah.
Release the tapes. Keep saying.
Yeah.
But yes, you pick Ashley. Are you so? You guys are pretty close.
Yeah, so we had hung out, like we were kind of like bunk mates, and we had been talking and stuff. And I knew like in that moment, like inclusion and like intersectionality was like a really important part of it. And so like, you know, seeing her like as a Black woman, like from Atlanta, I was like, you know what, like this seems like the logical move. And then in addition to that, I also knew that the chances of her picking Sam, I honestly thought that she was going to pick Felicia or like somebody else. But I think that
Felicia was going.
Oh, right. Sorry. I forget.
Well, the only other brothers and sisters left at this point is we have 51 Rose, 221 Chaz, Siobhan 23, and then Favor 2.
Yeah, right. And so in that moment, I was kind of like, okay, well, this seems like the logical choice. But then also, I know that she and Sam are very close, so the chances of him getting picked are also higher. So it was like kind of like the perfect.
Yeah, no, you definitely using smart math is with you know, Chad also explained too. If I pick this person, then they're gonna pick this person, they're gonna pick this person. Yeah. So definitely that's kind of what's going through your head, and that's smart. So yeah, Ashley picks Sam. Sam picks Siobhan picks Rose, et cetera, et cetera. People get picked, whatnot. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, eventually the last pick is Perna, and then all the 11 guys that are left are whisked away. So tell me how that was in that little moment right there from your point of view, because I got another point of view. So let me hear your point of view.
Well, from my point of view, it really did feel kind of like a victory, because like at that point, like there were like it was a dominating male force. Like I think it was like I had like 31 of us or whatever, like only like 9 or something were like women or minority identifying or anything like that. And so I think we did like hold hands at some point. I don't even remember. Everything is so foggy. But I know that like in that moment, like it did feel like personally, I felt very seen. I felt very like valued in that moment. And it also, it did kind of feel like a victory. But I don't know, like to me, like any one of these like games where it was like, oh, like elimination, like somebody's going to get eliminated and it's through like a social thing. Like it never really sat well with me, because like, I don't think anybody in that dorm deserved less of a chance to win than anybody else. And like going into it, like what we signed up for was, you know, we're going to play some silly kids games and then that's how we're going to get out. But the moment they introduced the like social like tests and stuff like that, that really changed the game a lot. And I don't know if it was for the better, because I think it made it less fair, because then it like a lot of it was like very performative. A lot of it was very like oh, like I just don't really know this person, so I'm gonna eliminate them. And it's like, you don't know their story, like you don't know like what like if they deserve it or not. And I really like at that moment, like especially in that like top 31, like I really don't think anybody there deserved the money less than anyone else. And so like it always is sad to see people go. And like I saw people go that like I liked Favor was like really nice and really cool. And like a couple of the other guys. And so that there were a couple of Jersey guys in there too. And I was like, damn, like the Jersey representation.
Yeah, 204.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a bummer. But I mean, at the same time, like it is kind of what it is at that point. Like we didn't really have any control over it. And I think that we did about as well. Like we were as inclusive as we could have been, I think, in that moment.
Yeah, you know, as inclusive as you could have been. I mean, I will just add one little tidbit and then we're going to move on from the situation. The only last inclusivity that did not get included was Genu.
Yeah, Genu was so cool. He was so nice. He taught us how to make soccer balls out of underwear and socks. Really nice guy.
He was upset because he was the only Korean male. That did not, because he thought he's, Chaz get a little representation matters thing.
Yeah. No, exactly. And again, like in that moment, like I think we did the best that we could given the circumstance, but like by no means was it.
Yeah, it wasn't
ever, and it never could have been. It never could have been perfectly inclusive and perfectly fair, because that's just not how it is.
Yes, that's not how it is.
Yeah.
And so yes, we move on into the final 20. And so when we get there and it is time for, essentially they show a little montage of the glass bridge, and it is time for to get in there. We walk into the white room again and we see this black curtain over this random thing. What do you think is under this black curtain?
I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was going to be some bullshit.
You knew it was going to be some bullspit, man. He knew it was going to be some bullspit up in there. And then they unveil what is underneath, and we have a claw machine filled with our friend right here.
Little dudes.
The little dudes, the little teddy bears of doom, you know. Yeah, they fill with these guys, and we got some stuff stuffed up in here in this booty right here. We got to dig it on out. And we have numbers on the back, and you get the number and you give it to someone else. So when we do this part right here, you get picked early. That's given a number to you. And you pick a number early, and you get number 8, and you give it to Roland. Why do you do this?
Yeah, so that was like legitimately the only time in the entire game that I fully panicked. Like I fully, like my mind went blank. Like I wasn't thinking, I wasn't doing anything, whatever. And then I was just kind of like scanning the room for numbers, and I saw Roland had his shirt open with his big number, and I was like, okay, it's gonna be that one. And I felt so bad about it too, because like me and Roland like had been getting close. Like we had really like gotten along very well. Like Roland easily was the funniest dude in that whole dorm. I want that to be known. He was the funniest friggin' dude in that whole dorm, like super easy to get along with, like very nice, very gentle, very kind, like very egalitarian. And so giving him that number like physically hurt me. Like the moment I said it, I was like, oh no, I really shouldn't have done that. But at the same time, like I really don't know like who else I would have given it to, because like at that point, like I've been close to like literally everyone, and I really do mean it when I say like I don't think anyone in that lineup like deserved the money less than anyone else. And so it's really tough to make that decision. So I knew like, oh, I guess like number 8, like it's not that bad, but like they're probably not going to make it. And so I felt so bad in that moment. But then it turned right back around, and then he gave me a similar, I forget, it was like 7 or.
Yeah, he gave you 10.
10, yeah, which was like close. And I was like, you know what, like that's perfectly fair. Like I'm honestly so sorry, but like, you know, it worked itself out.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely, it's funny you don't remember what number he gave.
I know. No, literally, they told us like when we got out, like, oh, like you should write a journal, like, you know, remember all the little details and stuff. And I was like, I don't need to do that. I'm good. I don't need to remember everything. I'll watch it when the show comes out.
Sweet. Well, look, I got the notes right here, so we good. They did say the journal thing, but I thought of it. Sounds like a good idea, but that sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't think I need to remembe. Like, I'm perfectly fine. Like, I'm chilling.
Exactly. And then all this like, oh, I forgot that happened. Oh, I forgot that happened. Oh, that happened. So yes, you get 8 from. You give 8 to Roland. Roland gives you 10. So pretty even swap. You guys are in pretty much the same spot, and everything finishes out. And so we enter the glass bridge. So talk to me about when you first walk in there. What you think?
Well, you know, walking in, I had seen the original show, so I know that only the people at the back of the line are going to make it through. Plain and simple. It's going to be fun. It's going to be silly. This will finally be my silly little death that I've been craving this whole time. Literally, I had a plan to do something silly when I got eliminated in every single round, every single game, and I never got to do it. so mine in this one was like, okay, perfect. Like if I make it, I'm going to go yahoo, and then if I fall, I'm going to go wah.
Shout out to the Mario poster we got on the corner. You poor thing. You couldn't have your little death. Poor thing. Poor thing. You could have had it at any point. You could have just, volunteer like, hey, like vote me.
I know.
But then you wouldn't have been able to do it like you wanted to. So I understand. You wouldn't do it in a game. But so yes, we get glass bridge started, and so TJ jumps first, he's out. Chad jumps second, he's out. I'm asking everyone who was in glass bridge at this point, you give me your perspective on when Trey was jumping and he did his whole little Superman.
Right. So going into glass bridge, they don't really show it in the show, but there was like I want to say like a couple hours in between us doing the numbers and us actually being on the glass bridge. And like we weren't supposed to talk to each other. Obviously we did. And we had to sign actually like extra special like contracts and stuff to make sure that we're pinky promise we're going to try not to get hurt, like all this stuff. And so in that time, like there was an idea floating around from Roland that we would do it like in an equal way, in a way that like we could like overtake each other, and then like everybody would have to make one 50-50 decision. So that had been discussed. But like definitely not everybody was on board. And I don't think anybody was on board like until it really actually happened. And so going into it, we were just like kind of hope, like especially like the lower numbers were just like, I guess, hoping that people would go along with it. And then it gets to Trey's turn and that whole thing with Ali. And like, I want to go honest, like from my perspective, from where I was standing on the bridge, it really looked like Trey just went AWOL. Like that's what we thought. And then because he like turned around, he did a whole dramatic thing. And like, I think when he turns around like on screen, like it looks like he's looking at Ashley, but I really think he's looking at all of us because he's like, hey, like what's the plan? Like whatever. And then I remember him saying like, did you guys really think I deserve this number or like something like that? And we're like, no, Trey, what are you talking about? Like what do you mean? And then he just like sends it and we're like, Trey, no. And then he makes it and we're like, whoa! you know. And like at this point, I'm having so much fun too because like me and Trey were from Jersey, so I'm like Bergen County, motherfucker, like, you know, whatever. Like that's my boy. Like for his like 2 that he makes, and then he makes the 3rd one, and unfortunately, you know, doesn't make it or whatever. And like I had like kind of noticed like Ashley like kind of shuffling a little bit, but I want to be so honest. Like at no point during this thing did we ever sit down and be like, okay, this is the plan. Everybody's gonna do it. Like I think everybody really made that decision like once they were on the bridge. And I really don't like even if that was the case with Ashley, like shout out to Ashley. She's a real one for real. Like I don't blame anyone for making any decision in this game, period, because of just all the pressure that's involved. Like everybody knows deep down that it is a winner takes all situation. So like I don't blame anybody for like playing their game and, you know, trying to do what's best for them. Like I think that's like very reasonable. The fact that we were able to make it like generally pretty fair, especially in these like later couple games, I think is like, you know, an amazing representation of like human decency and like a kind of like the way we work as a species, like kind of like how to work together. But like at the same time, like it's not like us versus each other. It's always us versus the game. And I want that to be very clear. And you know, she did eventually take her jump, and then we all, you know, continued with the plan or whatever. And like, yeah, like in hindsight, maybe she could have done that. But at the same time, like it was such a complicated situation. Like I think that, you know, Trey could have like spoken up. She could have spoken up. We could have spoken up. But at the same time, like I think everybody was so scared to like actually make a move or something. Like I thought Chad was behind me too. And Chad was saying like, hey, like, I don't know if I'm going to do this or whatever. And I told him, I remember telling him this. I was like, dude, like, it's all good. Like, you know, make whatever decision you want. And like, it's like, you know, we're good. Like, I'm going to do the plan. But like, if you don't, like, I don't blame you at all. Like, do whatever you need to do. And he does end up going along with the plan, which is, I think, really sweet. But at no point would I ever have faulted him if he didn't, because at that point, like, we know it's a winner takes all. We know that it, like, you know, it's us versus the game. And so, yeah, it was just, I think in summary, it's a lot more complicated than it looked on screen. On screen, they made it look like, oh, Ashley's a villain. Like, she's going to like, oh, shit, you talking? Like, all this stuff. And I'm like, no. It wasn't like that. Like, it was very chill. Like, we were chill. I personally was chilling. It was just...
You heard her say that?
I did hear her say that, yeah. And I was like, oh, Ashley, that doesn't look good. That's not going to look good on camera. But at the same time, like, I really don't blame her. Like, I really think that everybody, you know, was playing this game for, like, ultimately everybody was playing this game for themselves. And she did that and Trey did that. And, you know, whatever happened. But, I mean, we're not mad about it. I'm not mad about it. So, like, the fans definitely don't need to be mad about it.
Hey, y'all, stop being so mad.
Exactly. And she's getting so much undue hate, too. I've seen the nasty comments y'all are leaving on her page. Like, don't do that. Like, she's such a sweetheart. She's a very kind heart. She's very sweet. She's very genuine. Leave her alone, please. Justice for Ashley.
Justice for Ashley, man. She didn't do nothing wrong. She did exactly what she had to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I will say, you said, you know, I'll finish the list in a minute, but you said you would have went on with the plan. If Chad decided not to jump, would you have kept jumping? If you jumped and made it, and nobody wanted to pass you, what would you have done?
I mean, I wouldn't have had a choice. I mean, I probably would have been like, hey, anybody else want to come up and do this thing? And like, maybe like, hopefully they would have, but like, I mean, I understood the name of the game. I mean, going into Glass Bridge, like, I really didn't think I was going to make it. I thought I was going to be one of the people that would have to make however many jumps and then eventually like lose or whatever. Because I think we worked it out and it was like the first couple people in line have like a 1% chance or like less than a 1% chance of making it all the way through, and the last people in line have like a 97% chance. So at that point, like, I knew I was like a low-ish number, and so the chances of me making it through were absolutely minimal. And so I was very grateful for the way that it worked out, obviously, and like huge shout out to Roland for bringing that plan together. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I would have played the game. Like, I wouldn't have complained, because I really think that like everybody was playing this game for themselves, and I don't fault anybody for that.
Definitely, 100%. Well, yes, Trey jumps a few times and he's eventually out.
Rest in pieces, King.
R.I.P. Then Marina jumps after. No, Trey makes his, then Marina jumps past him, and then she gets out, and then Trey keeps jumping, then he's out. Then Ashley jumps. She makes it. She's safe. 31. Why am I blanking? 31 makes it in a safe. Sorry. Jackie is next, and she is eliminated. So your ride or die is gone.
Yeah, that was brutal for me. Honestly, that was probably like the worst moment in the show for me, was losing her, because at that point, like, we had become so close. Like, we were each other's rock in there, and to see her go down, I didn't even get to say goodbye, was like the worst part. So to see her go down in that way was brutal, because in that moment I really felt alone, because at that point it was like, oh, you know, everything that I have experienced, like, it's been kind of like a 50-50, but in that moment, like, I really felt like, you know, a part of me died. Because again, I want to stress, like, they made it feel so real when people got eliminated. Like, you literally just wouldn't see them anymore, and they were gone. And it really, like, they were like, the relationships that we made in there were the only things that kind of grounded us to reality, because we didn't have phones, we didn't have outside contact. So the only thing we had was each other and our stories. And so when people left the show, like, it really kind of felt like they died. And so, and again, like, we don't know if Netflix is like clapping people in the parking lot in the back. Like, we don't know what's going on. Like, so losing her was definitely probably the lowest moment in the show for me.
Oh, well, she had a good game, but shout out Jackie, man.
She's a real one.
She a real one.
Love you.
All love, Jackie.
Yeah.
And then Roland is next. He makes it. Elliot is next. He makes it. Phil, it's your turn. So 2 people have just made it in a row, so you can meet like, oh snap, I mean, you know, something's about to happen. But so when you get up there, how do you decide which one you pick?
So I chose the one on the other side purely because I was like, it's gonna look so cool. me making this jump, like, I'm gonna do like good form. I'm gonna do the thing, and I'm gonna make it look sick. And I did.
He did, man. He landed a 10 out of 10, man. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, baby.
Better than Simone Biles out there. Man. Come on, where you at, Simone? Well, this man makes it, and then Chad goes through with the plan, so you good to go. So at that point, you know you made it through, essentially.
Yeah.
So we'll just skip the rest. So congratulations. This man made it past the glass bridge, and he is in the final 12 people. Let's go. And so we get out of there, and it is time to go back to the dorms, and we're chilling for a little bit, and soon the guards, they bring out this rope and put it in a triangle.
Never ends with those dudes.
I know, it never ends. They always just coming out acting up, man. Say where y'all need to be.
Our vibe. Like, we're all fine, we're hanging out, we're having a good time, like, whatever, and then they come in and ruin our day.
Stay in, man. Stay in and quit messing up the vibes. But yes, they come out, and then they bring this little dice and put it in the middle, and you're like, what's going on? So when you see them do this, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking like, all right, you know, let's do this again. Let's do another silly elimination. At least this one wasn't like social based like as much. Like, it really was like the chance of it all. So I felt like a little bit better doing that. But then when they were like, oh yeah, like, you can nominate yourself or someone else, then I was like, oh my God, I cannot wait to see what happens.
We can't wait to see what happens. And yes, they give the dramatics of the rules. And so essentially everyone, quote unquote, agrees to do this. Okay, we're gonna nominate ourselves. I believe Roland came up with the idea.
Yeah, dude, huge shout out to Roland. Seriously, like, he's the only reason I made it through any of those games. Like, he really like pressed and pushed for it to be like super egalitarian, like super equal, super like, you know, like for the common good type thing. And I really give him huge props for that, because like, I honestly, like, I had that energy and I wanted to do that, but I'm not smart enough to figure out like how to do that. So he not only had the kindness and like the will to do it, but the brains too.
Yeah. This man's smart, man. This man's smart, man. He real smart. Who knew parkours had that much
I know.
They be going crazy with it. I seen that video of Roland riding that little scooter into the water. Oh man, what's poppin', man? Listen to the parkour people. So we get started, and everyone essentially agrees to this plan. I'm going to nominate myself. From an outsider point of view, it looks kind of crazy, but I know inside, you know, obviously being there, you get so close with these people. You're not trying to do some, you know, Mufasa and Scar tactics up in this business. You know, like, you're trying to keep it fair. And I understand that. I respect that. A lot of people don't understand, like, why would you nominate yourself? Because ultimately that game was designed as for people to team up. You know, you could have easily got through if you would have teamed up with everyone and like, okay, we're gonna just keep going back and forth and say the same person until it rolls a 6. So did you think about that at all?
No, I 100% didn't even think about that until after the game was over, and Roland was like, oh yeah, like, I guess we could have done that. And I was like, oh my God, like, this literally could have turned into a bloodbath. And so I'm so grateful for the way it turned out. Yeah.
Definitely grateful. And unfortunately, everyone rolls, I believe, twice or 3 times.
Twice. Yeah, I rolled twice. Everybody, we went around like in a circle and then back around this way. And like, again, like, I do want to say, like, we like agreed to do this game like mostly, but like, you never really know until you throw the die. And again, like, I don't fault anybody for doing their thing. Like, Mai like elects Ashley elects Mai, and I'm gonna be so honest. At that point, I really didn't understand their beef. And I like talked to Ashley about this. I was like, Ashley, like, what's going on? Like, why is Mai like so upset at you? And then she was like, oh, well, you know, Mai thinks I didn't jump, but I did jump. And then I'm like, oh, like, actually, yeah, I'm not really sure either. And so like, I knew that they kind of did have beef, and I just kind of wanted, like, I mean, I'm just a non-confrontational person. Like, I'm not trying to get involved in like anybody's like, you know, anybody's beef or anything like that. But like, I do, like, at the end of the day, like, I respect everyone's decision. Like, I respect Mai's decision. I respect Ashley's decision. And I mean, it was technically equal, so it worked
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
no reason to be mad about it.
Yeah, definitely. Very equal it was. And I guess I'll touch on this real quick before we get out of this one. So Ashley did, I haven't talked to her yet, but she rolled twice, correct?
I think so, yeah.
Did she nominate Mai both times she rolled the dice, or did she nominate
Oh
herself
my
the second
god, I
time?
actually don't remember.
I need to find that out.
Yeah.
I've been
Maybe I
meaning.
should have written stuff down.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, I got everything for you. So it's like,
Yeah.
anything you need to know regarding anybody, anything, I pretty much have got the intel. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm the Squid Games encyclopedia
Yeah,
at this point.
true.
So
Like I want to say she nominated herself, but I truly don't remember.
okay, we got
Yeah.
one more mystery to solve. That's
Yeah.
one of the big mysteries we got to solve.
Yeah.
But we find out that Perna, B, and Chad are eliminated in this game,
Dude,
sadly.
some real ones. Yeah,
Some
that
real
was
ones.
tough. B especially was like so intelligent, like so cool, so fun to talk to. And I mean, Perna is such a sweetheart, and Chad too. Like Chad had just been telling me about how he does like pro bono stuff with his law firm for what's it called, bankruptcy attorney stuff. And I was just like so enamored by his story. And I know that he, like, in the moment for both Glassbridge and this, like, was a little hesitant to go along with the plan, which, like, makes sense. Like I would have been hesitant too, but and so seeing him go down that way, like knowing that he was having second thoughts, like that was really tough. That was really tough to watch.
Yeah. Shout out Chad, man. 286, my dog,
A real one.
my pimp, man. Shout out Chad, big time. Props to that man. But sadly, he had to go that moment in time. And so it's down to 9 people, and soon we get to the next game finally, and we walk into this room and we see these chairs and this present in the middle. What are you thinking when you see this?
I was like, oh, it's heads up, 7-Up.
I thought too. I looked at it. I was like, oh, it's heads up 7. Oh, it was you for real.
Or like Dictionary or something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
It was an altered version of heads up 7. Altered version.
Yeah. I never heard of Circle of Trust in
I
my
haven't
life. Like, I think some other people had already played it. Like, I think Sam was saying like he might have played it in like grade school or whatever, but I had never heard of it at this point.
I don't know what they teach you. I don't know. You grew up in Florida, right?
Yeah.
Look, that's Florida. You don't know what Florida man is? Look it up. We ain't gonna get into that. So yes, we find out it's this game called Circle of Trust. There's a present in the middle. Somebody gets tapped. You get the present, put it on someone else's. They gotta guess who it is. And so, how are you feeling about this game?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of going into it with a similar attitude as like any of the other games. Like, I am very grateful to have made it to this point. I know that it's going to be the luck of the draw. I don't think anyone's going to try to do me dirty because I don't really have any enemies in here. And whatever happens, and I'm very grateful to have been, this point. And if I go out, I'm gonna make it silly.
Okay, he's gonna make it silly. Humble King right here, man. Humble King, man. He's just like, I'm just happy to be here, coach. I'm just happy to be here, and I like that. Okay. Well, we get the game started. And Mai is the first to be tapped, and she gives it to Roland. Roland guesses wrong. He says Rose gave him the box. He's gone. 8 people left. Then Ashley, no. Then Hallie gets the box, gets picked next, tapped on the shoulder, and she picks Amanda. Amanda thinks you gave her the box.
I told her. I was like, it wasn't me. She didn't believe me.
She didn't believe you, and she's out of there. 7 people left. Then Elliot is picked next. He puts it on Mai's desk. And Mai, she's out there, she's been adjudicating, man.
Mm-hmm.
She knows what's going on. She can even read these guards' faces, I heard.
Yeah.
And she knows right off the bat. And Elliot, I had Elliot on the podcast. It's hilarious because he's like, he was shaking. He
looked so nervous. I was talking to him too, and apparently he has like a fear of like blindfolds and stuff. And so for him, that was like torture, that whole scene. And I feel really bad for him. But like low-key, like in the moment, like I didn't know that, but in the moment, like he was kind of like twitching and like and I think his desk was honestly like a little creaky. Than creakier than the other one. So like he just had like everything like going against him in that moment. So yeah, that was tough.
Oh, shout out Elliot, man. You're a real one too. Well, we down to 6 people now. And then Elliot's out of here. So then Elliot, that's what I just said. Rose is next. She gets tapped next. And she puts it on Phil's desk. Oh man, this man's going through the Hunger Games right now, man.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I volunteer as tribute basically over here. Okay, Katniss. So how are you feeling the second time going around?
I mean, I'm definitely disappointed. I had like a little bit of a plan going in where like if I like every time I took the blindfold off, I would immediately like look at everyone's eyes and see like whose eyes were still adjusting to the light, if anybody was like really shifty, because I felt like those like first few seconds was really important. And so I would always be like the first to take it off, like kind of be like looking at everybody. And then I saw the box on my desk and I was like, God damn it. All right. Well, this was fun, but it's time to do my silly thing and go home. And I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I kind of sussed out Rose, like, kind of this for the same reasons that Roland kind of thought it was Rose, because she was the only one in there that like I didn't really know super well. Like I had gotten along with pretty much everybody, and like me and Rose like had talked a little bit, but like we weren't super close. And so I knew going in that like a lot of these decisions were made by like, oh, like I don't really know this person, like whatever. And so that I kind of had that going for me. And so I figured that it was like the most likely that it was her, because she was probably the one that loved me the least, not because like she didn't like me, but just because we just didn't really have that connection yet. And again, I want to emphasize so hard that like I really did not know. Both of the times that I got the box, I did not know. And I was like, you know what? I'm probably going to go down. So I'm going to do it silly style.
Oh my gosh. If I had my little hand thing where you can switch the fingers on it, it's in my room, I would have definitely love to have that here. But yes, you dramatically pointed at Rose. Mm-hmm. And to your surprise, I guess, you're right. You were surprised?
I was surprised. I really was.
Okay.
All the times I was. And like they didn't really show it, but like I literally went around to every single person and I was like, here's why I think it was you, but maybe not. And then moving on.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, they only kept a little bit of it, but I did a whole bit both times.
Okay, he knew what time it was. He's like, look, if I'm gonna go out, I'm getting my silly.
No, exactly. I was like, I'm getting my airtime. Like, I'm getting my screen time. I'm gonna make it silly. Like, I'm just gonna have fun with it.
Okay. Well, I love it. But yes, you guessed right, and Rose is out of here. 5 people left. So then Ashley is picked next, and she picks
me.
You again.
Yep.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm like, is that a typo again?
Yep.
So now you get picked twice back to back. What is going on, man?
I mean, the second time I literally said, I took out my blindfold. I was like, are you guys freaking kidding me? Like, again with this? Like, come on. Whatever.
I have beef with you, man.
I know. And I was like, all right, well, let me do this again. Let me do my whole little bit again, just to make sure that they didn't catch it the first time. Like, they're going to catch it now. So I did my whole little bit. I was like, oh, Hallie, like, I'm sure it must be hard not having the most beautiful hair in the room, which like I was honestly roasted for online. The only the comments online have been overwhelmingly positive. Like I've been receiving a lot of like really nice like affection and love, and I'm really grateful for it. But the one negative comment that was low-key kind of funny was I saw a tweet that was like, oh, like this guy has the audacity to say he has the best hair in the room when he has like dandruff the size of cornflakes or whatever. And I was like, they're so right for that one. They're so right, because it's true. I did have a bunch of dandruff, but I want to be clear. They did not let me wash my hair for the last like 3 days or whatever that I was there, because they were like, okay, quick showers only, like 5 minutes. And I was like, dudes, like it takes longer than that to clean this mane. And so that's why I was looking all gross and stuff. And the fluorescents weren't helping. It was like a whole thing. But anyway, yeah. So I'm going around. I'm like doing my whole little spiel. I'm like, oh, like playing the old lady card, like all this stuff. Like, was it you or whatever? And I'm like, Sam, like you wouldn't do that to your boy, like, or would you? I'm just like being very silly. And then I land on Ashley, and then like it's so funny because Rose and Ashley both looked less guilty when they were actually guilty than they did when they weren't. Like when they weren't guilty, they were just like a little bit nervous, like a little bit like whatever. But both times when they were guilty, they were just like, and what about it? And I'm like, okay, that seems a little sus. And like honestly, like I was pretty confident about Rose, but like Ashley really felt like a shot in the dark. Like I picked her because I knew that she was first of all the smartest person in the room easily. And I knew that she was very cutthroat and very cunning, and like she like low-key like would do something like that to try to like throw me off or whatever. And I was like, I respect her. Like I respect her for trying to play this game. But I want to emphasize, I did not know. Like I know it like looks like I was super confident when I was pointing, but in my brain I was like I guess it might be like Ashley. I don't know. But on the edit, I'm just like, yes, I know it was you, but I fully did not. And so I was really surprised that it was Ashley.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised too. I mean, you picked her.
Yeah.
So it's like that's might be honestly the average viewer, the last person that would pick you because you saved her. So
yeah, that's true. But also like I know like me and Allie had gotten really close over the last few days, and I knew that we were like really got along really well. And also something that they didn't show at all in the show was Mai stuck her neck out twice for me in the show. She offered to take my jump on Glass Bridge, and she offered to throw my dice for me. And both times I was like, no, Mai, like it's all good, like I got it. But like that really stuck in my brain. I was like, this woman like really cares about me. Like we've really grown very close up until this point. Like we'd had some like pretty deep chats and stuff. And so I was like, you know what? Like it's probably like that would be weird for Mai to pick me in this moment. And I knew that Sam wouldn't betray me because he's a king. And so it was kind of between Ashley or Hallie. And in that moment, I was like, well, you know, Ashley's got the balls to do this. So that's why I ended up picking her. And I was right, which I really was shocked to hear. I was like, oh my God.
He's trying to fake his death twice, man, with the dramatics, man. Once again, you know, that needs to be a new signature pose on everything, man. Top models call this man. Talent call this man. This man on the magazine cover with that pose.
Everybody online thinks that I guess there's like an anime or something, or like a video game where like some guy's doing this. I want to be so honest. I don't know what anime is. I've never seen anime before. I don't know what that is. Please stop asking me about it.
Stop asking this thing, man. Just me and himself. Okay. Just me and himself. Well, you make it past that, and then now we're down to 4 people left. And then he's like, man, if I get picked again, whoo, I'm gonna need something. You're gonna have to give me something, coach.
For real. And I said that in the show. I was like, please don't make me do that again. Whatever.
Well, Hallie gets picked last, and she picks Mai, and Mai assesses her out quickly, and she is eliminated. And now there are last 3 people left, man. Congratulations. Huge accomplishment, man. So when the game is over, and I know you guys have some time, when you get back into the dorms, how are you feeling? Like, what's going through your head before all the dramatics of the piggies and all that stuff?
I mean, I'm honestly not feeling good in this point because I was the one who had to put the box on Hallie's desk, and that kind of broke me a little bit because like until that point, like losing Jackie was definitely like the worst moment, but like that was the first time where I had to make a decision that directly resulted in somebody get eliminated. And that really sucks because Hallie did not deserve that. She is a queen. She's perfect angel. And in that moment, like choosing somebody was really hard because, you know, Sam was like my boy in there. Like we were like super tight, super close. I'd really connected with his story. His like representation was like a huge factor. Mai also had like stuck her neck out for me twice. So like that wouldn't really be fair. And then Hallie, like I had gotten so close to in the past few days, like she was really just had like a bright, beautiful personality, like really awesome to talk to. And so in that moment, like it was really tough. It was really tough to make that decision, but I knew that realistically, Hallie was probably the least likely to suss me out. And it's true because the first thing she said when she stood up was, okay, so it wasn't Phil. And hearing that broke my heart. Like that was like, I really felt like I betrayed her in that moment. Like, Hallie, I'm so sorry. You deserve the world. Yeah, that was really tough. So I'm feeling like in this moment, I'm feeling broken. Like, I don't feel like I deserved it. Like, I feel like I betrayed a friend to get here. And that's just not how I wanted to get this far.
Yeah, I mean, you had to do what you had to do, man. And you definitely picked the one person who probably, I mean, maybe Sam wouldn't have guessed you too. Maybe. Mai, I feel like she would have known anyone who picked her.
Yeah, I don't know. She's so much smarter than she gives off, for real.
No, definitely. So yeah, I'm sorry I passed that part up. I just
no,
because they did a weird thing in the edit where they didn't show it.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
Yeah, that was fairly weird because I was like, why is that not my? I just have 355 eliminated, but not like a ghost or something. I don't know. But yeah, that was tough, man. You definitely had to make those moves, and that game, you really had to earn it. You know, you had to play that game essentially four times or 5 times. You got picked once. You picked two people picked you, and you had to pick one last. So 4 times you had to play that game out of 8 or 6 or 7 times. A lot of times you had to play the game. You know, it's crazy. So huge props. You definitely. I'm the type of dude where I like to see people earn it. I don't want to see no handouts, and you definitely earned it in that moment.
Thank you.
And so that I'm like, wow, like. Man's got, you know, he's got the balls of steel. Okay.
Nothing but intuition and a whole lot of luck.
Hey, well, go play the casino sometime.
I really thought about it after this game. I was like, oh my god, like I really should play the lottery because like it really could be me. Like,
yeah, it could be. So take that to the bank. But so we get back to the dorms in his final 3. So what's setting in with you right now?
Well, I mean, at this point, I'm obviously very grateful to have made it to this point. I'm still kind of bummed about having to knock Hallie out in order to be at this point. But at this point, I'm like kind of excited because I'm like, oh my God, they're going to feed us that meal. They're going to put us in the tuxedos and they're going to feed us steak. And I can't wait to eat real food with real salt. And I'm so excited. So for that was legit. That was for real. Okay. And nice. they tailored those suits too. Like those were like nice tuxes.
So you guys got fitted inside. Well, they already had your sizes, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they had our sizes, but I think they did like measure us and like make sure it was like perfect or whatever. And so that was kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie. And it's so funny because they had us like try them on like in the bathroom and then had us do like a little photo shoot. And it's like the sinks and like the showers are in the back. And I'm like, why here? Like y'all didn't have all this Netflix money and you didn't have a cooler set to like put us in front of. Like
it was funny to see that. I was like, oh, there's the bathroom.
Yeah.
So just curious, how much time passed between the last game? You got the circle of trust and then the dinner.
Honestly,
Estimation.
I want to say maybe a day.
Okay, so you guys had a lot of time in there with just you three.
Yeah, no, we
Okay.
did, but also all that time that we had in those three, they were pulling us for interviews all the time, like individual interviews, group interviews, stuff like that. So it was like very little time that the three of us actually spent like together in the dorm. And I think they kind of did that on purpose because they didn't want anybody like hanging up on each other. They didn't want like all this stuff, but they did have us like, okay, you know, Phil and I go over there, like, you know, have a little conversation, and we did. But other than that, like, we didn't really get to spend that much time together because everybody was kind of busy off doing their own
so
thing.
You didn't really have much time by yourself in the dorms overall between the dinner and the circle of trust to kind of just like relax, or I would say relax, but just chill. I guess.
Nope, no chilling.
Okay, so they was okay. So that's my biggest me is like, oh, I wonder what they were doing during this time with just three people.
If I did, I would have washed my hair, which they again did not let me do.
You gotta keep this man in character.
Yeah,
okay?
for real.
Keep him in character. You start getting his hair flushed, you're gonna start acting like a different person. You can't have that. Okay, so we eventually get to the glorified dinner, and you guys walk out of the bathroom, and you open up to this amazing set. What are you thinking? What's going through your head?
Oh my god, I like was so excited to eat real food. That was like legit like the first real meal that we had eaten in like over 2 weeks, and so I was stoked. Like the steak. Oh, Sam says it was terrible. It was the best steak I've ever had in my life. Like I thought it was delicious. Like it was like the first salt that we had tasted in weeks. And it was so good, and there was so much food. I literally like they kept like coming around to like bring my plate away, and I was like, no, like I'm not done. I just like kept eating. I literally ate like I stuffed myself so much. I literally was like feeling bad after. I was like, oh my god, I'm so full.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean it looked lit. I mean I was wondering how like if you could get up out the chair and go get the stuff on the corners. Were you able to get up?
Yeah, we could.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean they had trays of it. They had like little like desserts. They had like little like, you know, everything like they had like I think like scallops and stuff. That was so good. Oh my god, the sauce with the scallops and the steak. Oh, it was delicious. And then in the middle, they had that big like tray or whatever. And what they had said over the loudspeaker was like, oh, like, you know, enjoy your meal. No more tricks. Just like have a nice meal. And I'm like, again, like an idiot, just like in marbles. I was like, okay, like sweet. And I figured, oh, this must be like a turkey in there, like something like that.
You thought it was a turkey in there?
Yeah. And then like the longer we were like eating and stuff, the more I was like, oh, they haven't shown us what's in there yet. I wonder if it's gonna be something bad.
We wonder. So how long were you guys eating for roughly? Like 30 minutes, 45 minutes?
Yeah, maybe 30 minutes to an hour or something like that. And we were genuinely talking. But it's funny because like we like already had known each other pretty well at that point, but I think production like wanted us to like kind of get like to our like origin stories like again because they hadn't like shown us at all during the show at this point. So that's why it's so like inorganic when Mai's like, oh, so Sam, where are you from? Like fully knowing where he's from and like fully having like been the only other person to talk to for days. Like
exactly. I was laughing at that part because I knew like, okay, this is not the first time they're having this conversation.
And at that point too, like we were so tired. Like we were like it had been like I think 16 days or something of production. So we were tired. We'd already heard these stories. Like we weren't trying to like talk or whatever. We were just trying to enjoy this meal. But they were like, oh no, come on, you know, give us something. So we're like, okay, like, you know, Sam, where are you from?
what's your name again?
He said, like, what would you do with the money?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, which is so funny, honestly, because they asked me that, and every time they asked me that, I was like, oh, you know, I don't really know because I didn't really think I don't know. I didn't think I'd get this far.
Like that's not what we want to hear. Re-say it again. Think something good.
Exactly.
And then one more question I had is, this is just me.
Yeah.
Did they switch out y'all twin size mattresses for full size mattresses, or am I tripping?
I don't think so.
Okay, I must be tripping because watching it, I'm like, these mattresses look bigger for some reason.
They definitely felt bigger, but I don't know if they like actually were. Or if it's just like how like big the room felt. Dude, the room was so eerie with just the three of us, and the fact that they put our beds like so far away from each other too was so silly. Like
that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, yes, we have a beautiful feast, some dessert, some jokes and laughs, and we're waiting to get this turkey underneath the middle tray because he's ready to dig in, even though he's already full. And so we find out one of the guards lifts off this tray, and we see these buttons, and then they explain the rules. You know, one of these buttons they explain the rules. You know, one of these buttons is going to advance you. One of these buttons could advance. One of these buttons could advance you. One of these buttons could eliminate you. And one of these buttons, nothing's going to happen. And so when they explain these rules, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking, here goes. Here we go again. But in that moment, like I am like genuinely afraid because I'm like, okay, this is the closest we've come so far. Like any little mistake could like, you know, knock me out or whatever. And in that moment too, I mean, it was the same thing with like the Jack in the Box. Like, why would I want to volunteer myself to do something that could get me eliminated? Like that seems like a very easy way to get eliminated. And so that's why I asked, I was like, hey, like, you know, low key, like, you know, no worries, but like, does anybody want to go? Because they told us like, okay, we have to agree on it unanimously. Like we can't play a game. We can't do whatever. And so we had to agree on it. And so that's why I was like, hey, you know, guys, like, does anybody want to go? Like, does anybody want to bite the bullet? Like, no worries if not, but just like, you know, just filling out the room. And then we talked for a little bit, and then Mai volunteers to go. Which I'm like super proud of her for, because that is a very scary decision to make. And in that moment, I really did feel like a coward, but like it felt like the safe choice to not do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from your vantage point, because it's right in the middle, could you see the shapes on there?
Yeah, I could see the shapes. And it's funny because I got up because I was like, no, Mai, like we're going to do this together. Like I'm going to be standing right next to you. And then production was like, nope, you got to sit back down. And I was like, oh, okay. So
Interesting. That's funny.
Yeah.
So you see the shapes: circle, triangle, square.
Mm-hmm.
Did you recognize that, did you try and think like, okay, the tables, I'm sure you noticed it was a triangle, or did you not really notice that?
Listen, I really feel like the dumbest person in the world. Like looking back at the show, I'm like, oh, wow, like they really did a lot. You know? Well, and so, but I also knew that they wouldn't like give it away. It's like Sam told me after, he was like analyzing like everything. He's like, oh, like the shape of like the cookies that they fed us like at dinner, like the shape of like the whatever, like is gonna like give it away. And I'm like, I really don't think it's that deep. Like they probably just picked it at random. Like I'm sure it's whatever.
I'm sure
like,
it was random or something. But it was, we're looking at it, watching it. You know, it's easier said than done, clearly. Yeah. But you know, the shape is a triangle, and then there's a circle underneath the triangle, and then the thing is, the plate is underneath another circle, I believe. Quote me if I'm wrong. Sorry about that last part. But I'm pretty sure it's the circle, and then the triangle table is over the circle, and then there's another circle underneath where the plate is that they pick up. And so I'm like, oh, circle, but duh, like you guys don't see that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd seen so many shapes throughout the course of this whole thing. I was like, it's probably random. I don't want any part of that.
Sam might probably was looking at the guard who lifted it off and trying to remember what shape he
had. Literally everybody in that game was so much smarter than us. Like for real. They were like really analyzing that. And I was just like, I'm just here for the vibes, man.
Yeah, just here for the vibes. I love it.
Have fun, like not think too hard, whatever.
Exactly, man. Live your life with the vibes, man, and don't stress. But yes, Mai goes first, and she selects triangle, and dramatics happen, and then nothing happens. And so they announce she sits back down. Yeah, she sits back down. And so you and Sam, you spoke about this just now. You guys talk and whatnot, and he decides to go. So what's the final straw of like him getting it?
I think the final straw was just like, I think that he knew that neither of us wanted to do it. And I think that he just wanted to be the bigger man. And I think for him too, like I think felt a little bit guilty because he didn't have to make a jump in Glassbridge. He didn't have to, he wasn't chosen at all during Circle of Trust. So I think that was him like trying to like own it and be like, okay, like if I'm here, like it's going to be because I earned it, not just because I lucked out. And I really give him huge props for that, because in that moment, I was terrified. I was too scared to do anything. And honestly thinking, I didn't think this in the moment, but thinking about it after, like, if either of them had chosen the one that like would let you bring somebody else, like I really think both of them would have picked me.
I did too.
And so I think it was the safe choice. For me not to do anything. Like I don't honestly, I don't even remember if I like knew that in the moment, but I think like instinctively that was kind of like my, okay, well, you know, there's also that, which is another reason why I don't super want to like press the button.
No, if you were thinking that, I think you were 100% guaranteed. But I mean, like you said, you were just kind of like, you know, it's hard. You know, you had a lot of stress too, so no blame and whatsoever to how your brain was going, because everybody would have been overthinking everything too. I mean, you don't think they have a close relationship, but who knows? They might undercover.
Exactly. So, and at this point, like again, like it had been so long, like so many days of like not sleeping and like not eating right and like all this stuff that like my brain was just like fog. I was like, all right, whatever. Like let's vibe. And that was honestly kind of like a survival mechanism too. You know, not getting too stressed out, like just kind of vibing it, seeing where it goes. So I was like, oh, you know, all right, made it this far. Hope I keep going, but if not, no worries.
I love that. I love it, man. I love it. So yeah, Sam ultimately gets up and he selects square.
Yeah.
And he is stressing, turning red, the whole nine, and boom, he's gone.
Yeah.
So when that happens, tell me what's going on through your head.
I'm just like devastated. I'm defeated. Like, you know, I've seen so many of my friends go during this thing. So to see another one was just like even more brutal. And the fact that it was so close too. And like, again, I really want to stress that like nobody in this game deserved the money less than anyone else. And Sam especially, like he's got like a super interesting backstory. Like he wants to do good with the money. Like he's like, you know, he's a really good guy. And so to see him leave like in that way, you know, not even because he like lost a game, but just because he picked the wrong number, like that sucked low key. But Mai honestly kind of hyped me up. Like I was feeling really down. Like I was just like, I was crying. I was like, what? Like you could see in the show, like my hair is a mess for the only time in the entire show because I was just like, like whatever, like freaking out. But then Mai kind of grabs me and is like, hey, you know, like it's gonna be okay. Like let's do this in his honor. Like let's keep going. Like we're so close. And then that's when I kind of realized like she's right. Like we are so close, and no matter what happens, like tomorrow I'm gonna get to sleep in my bed. Like I'm gonna get to eat some real food. So like, you know, let's just power through and keep going, and you know, try to make, you know, people proud.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. That's awesome. So yeah, Sam is unfortunately swifted out of there. And you know, he didn't even really get to say goodbye either.
Yeah, that was tough too. Like couldn't even hug him, couldn't even like whatever. Yeah. Like all I could say was I'm sorry, because I did feel guilty in that moment, because I'm like, wow, like, you know, he like that, why couldn't it have been me? You know, like I didn't, like he didn't deserve that, you know, like why, you know, and then so I really did feel like a coward.
Yeah, well, you know, you did what you needed to do in the other games, man. So I think, you know, you did what you needed to do, but now it's, you know, final 2. So congratulations again. This is amazing. So now how does it feel to be one of the last 2 people? I know you probably want to regurgitate, but I need to ask.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like the pressure has never been higher. You know, at this point, it's like, wow, like this really could be the biggest day of my life. All I got to do is just power through whatever the heck the next game is going to be.
Yeah. So you guys get 1 night to sleep with just you 2, and the money goes in between you guys and whatnot, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, when they dropped that piggy bank, I was like, oh my god, they really didn't need to do that, because like before it always seemed like just like a literal, like a representation of like an unachievable dream, like all this stuff, and then now it's like literally right in front of me, and I'm like, oh my god, like looking at it, like I told Mai this, like I don't know if they included this in the show because I forget, but I literally said, I was like, you know, one of those stacks could change my life right now, like let alone like all of them. Like that would be an insane amount of like meaningful change that we could do. You know, I could, you know, make so many people's lives better. So, you know, I could really finally give back to the environment, like give back to all these people that have helped me my whole life. And so like, then it starts thinking like it almost feels like a responsibility to try to like keep going too.
Yeah, no, definitely. When you put it down, it's like, okay, I can touch it, I can see it, I can feel it, I can smell it.
Yeah.
It's on and popping. So you get your night's sleep with the teddy bear, or with the piggy this time, and it's time for the next day to approach, and you guys are still in your tuxedos.
Yep. Same ones we've been wearing for like 24, 48 hours.
I thought that was interesting that they kept you guys in the tuxedos.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty silly too. But like, whatever. I mean, we've been basically wearing pajamas for like 3 weeks straight. So.
Exactly. But yeah, y'all got us spoofed up again, not being able to wash the hair, and you guys enter the Dalgona playground once again, which is nice to kind of see again. You know,
it was a familiar face.
It was nice to see again. And so when you enter this, what's going on through your head?
I mean, so up until this point, I was like low-key hoping that it would be like a variation of the actual Squid Game from the original show, because at least I was like, okay, well, you know, maybe I could have some like athletic points, like maybe I could, like, you know, run around Mai or something like that. But like deep down, like I knew that they were going to make it fair, that they weren't just going to make it like that, because then it would have been too easy. It would have been entertaining. So I knew it was going to be something silly. I did not think that it was going to be so silly as to be rock, paper, freaking scissors. And I literally, like when they opened it and like announced it, like it's going to be rock, paper, scissors. I literally, they didn't include this in the show, but I was like, are you guys joking? Like, come on. Like this is the silliest thing I ever seen. Like all that Netflix money and you couldn't think of anything better. Like rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, it was definitely a shock, and definitely like a really type of moment. Like, this is what we doing?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I know it's a kid game, and I'm just like, I don't know, I put my hand over my head. I'm just like, real, like, for this much money.
I know. Like in a way it felt nice, because like I was like, okay, like at least it's probably going to come down to chance. But little did I know that Mai was freaking like stratted up the whole way with freaking rock, paper, scissors. I didn't even know there was strategy until literally watching this, like literally watching the finale premieres, when I found out that there was strategy. Rock, paper, scissors. Like
you had all this time since we filmed the show, and you didn't look up rock, paper, scissors strategy.
No, I was like, oh man, like she really whooped my butt.
That's funny. So I mean, it makes sense because, you know, way back when we were back originally in the Dalgona playground, they said pick the shapes, no games.
Yeah,
which they didn't air. You know, I was second in line.
Would have been a spoiler.
It would have. It was because I was second in line to pick the shapes and whatnot, and they didn't include this in the show, but they said no games. And if we would have done rock, paper, scissors, then it would have spoiled the ending. Would have been like, well, they already did it, and then it made it. if we would have, I was just talking to somebody about this. I think Leanne. She's like, "Well, why? What if you guys would have done it then?" I'm like, "If we would have did it then, they would have eliminated us. But since we did a race that was not, they said no games, but since we did a race, like, oh, that's not rock paper scissors, so they can go ahead and do the race, and we won't include that no games thing. Then we were safe. And even if we made a decision after doing the little race, we would have been safe still. I feel like, but if we would have done rock paper scissors, they would have like, "Nah, y'all out." So I was just thinking about that. And I was like, wow, really? This is what we were saving up for the grand finale, man.
Yup.
I'm just like, we could have done Battleship as the last game.
I know, or like something more fun, like
Yeah.
more like animated. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just for me to be sillier, but whatever.
Yeah, they didn't want to give you your dramatic scene, man.
At least they threw the keys in there. That at least I guess made it a little bit more interesting. But
Exactly. So yeah, we get in there, they explain the rules. Obviously, who doesn't know how to play that game? And they say, but the trick is, you know, there's all these keys in here, and you have to pick the right key. And so you guys get to playing and whatnot. Very dramatic. Why don't you go through the game with me?
yeah, so I mean, we played, I want to say like 33 something rounds of rock paper scissors, and she whooped my butt in most of them. And I was like, at that point, I was like freaking out. Like I was like, you know, ever since choosing the number out of this machine, that was like also the only other time that I was like fully panicking. I like didn't know what I was doing. I was just like throwing them at random, and she's like somehow kept beating at me. And I was like, this must be the luckiest woman in the whole world. Like, oh my God. And we got through most of the keys too. Like there was like 40 something keys in that box, and we got through most of them. And every single time I went, what was going through my head was I was going off of Raiders of the Lost Ark logic. I don't know if you guys know, it's an Indiana Jones movie where Indiana Jones has to choose like the Goblet of Youth or Fountain of Youth cup. And then they like go in there, like the super villain's in there. He picks the most extravagant one, drinks from it, and then dies immediately. And then Indiana Jones goes and picks the most simplest, like chillest looking one, drinks it, and then that's like the one. So that's the logic that I was going off of. I was like, oh, like it's probably going to be like the most basic key. Like it's not going to be anything flashy or whatever. And the worst thing is that I saw the key that she picked. I saw it in there and I was like, yeah, it's probably not that one. And I went and picked other ones. And so I think about that moment every single day. It lives rent free in my brain every single day since
the keys were all different.
Yeah, they were all different. They all had different designs.
Interesting. So what do you remember about the design of the key?
It was regal. Like there were like a bunch of them with like a bunch of different designs. Like some had numbers, some had shapes. Like I picked a lot of the ones with shapes because like, oh, like it's got to be like a triangle or like a cloud or like a circle or something like that. But the one that she picked was like, it wasn't like the most extravagant one, but it also wasn't like basic. Like it was regal. It was like a rich person's key. Like it was like a classy looking, like good looking one. And I kick myself every single day.
You remember seeing this?
I remember. I lived rent free in my brain. I can literally draw a picture of it right now.
Wow.
Like, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang. I mean, you know, I mean, look, you don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, it's keys, and it's like you see that, but it's like,
yeah. I do wish that I had never seen Raiders of the Lost Ark. I feel like I maybe could have won if I had never seen that movie. So, you know.
So you had a strategy with the key picking.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did have a strategy. It wasn't good.
The one game you go into a strategy with.
I know, literally the only game I went into with a strategy, I friggin' lost. Like, goes to show you, just go with the flow, man. It's all vibes.
It's all vibes, man. Vibes for life, man. Don't go into nothing thinking too hard about it. Unless you elementary school studying for a math test, man. Just go in there with the vibes, and things gonna work out. Because if you thinking too hard, the one time you thinking is gonna be the worst time you thinking. Well, yes, she ultimately picks this fancy looking key, and you know, it turns a little bit and then it ultimately opens. So when it opens and you see this, what's kind of initial thoughts?
Well, I actually had a little bit more time to process it because in what actually happened was she like put the key in, like turned it like a little bit, and then it like just kind of backed up and like got scared that like it wasn't working, and then it got kind of stuck. And so I don't think that she actually realized that that was the key that was going to turn the whole thing. And so then she kind of backed up, and then like production came in and whatever, and had to like double check like all this stuff. And so in that time, like I knew in that moment, I was like, wow, I just lost $4.56 million playing rock, paper, scissors. And so I did have like a few minutes to kind of like, you know, just sort of like bend over and just like kind of breathe and think and be like, okay, like it's over. And then they like brought us back, and then they turned the cameras back on and stuff like that. And then they had her like open it and then open it. So at that point I kind of had already like processed it a little bit, but in that moment too, like just seeing like the look on her face and like the genuine shock, like the disbelief, like the emotions running through her brain, like I really was excited for her. I want the people to know this. Like I really am genuinely happy for her. I really think that, especially in that last game, she earned it. She played her ass off. Like she played really well. She whooped my butt. She earned that money for real, and I'm very happy for her. And that's the thing too. Like as the game got like less and less people, I knew that no matter who the money went to, like they would do right by the money. Like they would do some good with it. They wouldn't just keep it all for themselves and like spend it on something stupid. Like I know that she would do something good with it. And so that was honestly a relief. And like another relief was that like it's over. You know, no more bad food, no more sleepless nights, like no more like this stuff. Like I get to go home, I get to go see my partner, I get to go eat some good food, like sleep in my own bed. And so in that moment, like I really felt relieved more than anything else.
Relief, man. That's very honorable. And you did what you did what 400 some other people could not even do and dream or think about doing, man, with just going with the flow, being yourself. And huge props, huge kudos, huge respect, man. Everything.
Thank you.
The outcome wasn't what you wanted, but I know you probably took a lot else away from this thing. What are some of the things kind of like you taken away from the show?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely like it was the most unique thing I've ever been a part of. Just the screen time alone and like the social media attention I'm getting and stuff is like really like changing my life. Like my whole life got turned upside down in the last 2 weeks. Like I'm working on projects I never dreamed of being able to work on. Like I'm finally able to pursue music as my passion, which has always been my passion and something I've always wanted to do, but I've always been held back by, having to worry about paying the rent and paying for food and just working like odd jobs here and there. So like for the first time in my life, like I really feel like I'm doing something that like I was born to do. Like I feel like I was born to be a performer. Like that's what I'm good at. That's my thing. And so this show has, really given me the opportunity to do that. And I'm forever grateful.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I love to hear it, man. As an artist myself, definitely huge props and huge love for that, because as an artist you have all these other things you got to worry about. You got to work this other job to be able to do what you want, pay for this recording time, or you got to do this favor in order to pay for that, and then it's like you don't have any real time to kind of put in and invest in what you're really trying to do. So now I'm so happy that you get to it. Check out 6 Ways to Saturday, man. They popping. They got their first single just dropped. It's lit, man. It's lit.
Sure is.
It's lit. I would be playing it, but I'm gonna get copyright infringement if I play it.
Well, we won't see.
Well, it ain't y'all. It's iTunes. It's Spotify. They gonna come after me.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how that stuff works.
I'm not a lawyer.
Look, I ain't. So look, Chad, let me know if I'll play it on this thing. But yeah, I mean, great band going on. And so when you get back home finally to Hawaii, or
I was in Hawaii.
Okay, you go back to Hawaii. Tell me how you feeling when you get back home.
I mean, it just feels surreal, like just being thrown into real life. Like it almost felt like the whole thing was a dream, just because like I have no record of it other than just my memories. I have no pictures, I have no like anything whatsoever. And so like and just like the describing it to people. Well, I wasn't supposed to describe it to anyone, but describing it to people, like it really just felt like a dream. It felt like something that like was a fantasy and like didn't really happen. And honestly, it like felt that way for a long time, like until actually seeing it on screen. I was like, oh my god, those are the things that we did, so it's just like, my whole life changed after that. Honestly, the worst part was having to go back to work. I was like, come on. I was like, after all that, I still got to clean rich people's pools. And what's really funny, actually, I went and I cleaned Nick Lachey's pool, like the week after. Yeah. And then I saw him. I was like, you're the guy, Netflix guy. But then I couldn't say anything. I was like, I'm a Netflix guy too. Like I couldn't say anything, but it was so funny to like see him.
Is hilarious. His house in Hawaii.
Yeah, really nice one too.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, that's funny. I mean, look, that was the biggest thing too. Is like, dang, I gotta go back to work.
I know. No, literally, I was like, come on, like I can't even like rest or like like do it. I literally gotta go right back to work. And like obviously, like I'm very fortunate. Like I love doing scuba diving. Honestly, cleaning the pools was legitimately a fun job, and I really did enjoy it. So like, there's definitely worse things to go back to. My partner was there. My partner had been waiting for like almost 2 weeks, like alone in my apartment for me to come home, and so that we could finally hang out. So that was really nice. We got to like drive around the island together, so that was really fun. So like it really was kind of business as usual. But then like in my head, I was like, all right, like, this show is gonna come out in however many months. Like I have between now and then to like really prepare myself and try to do as much as I can to try to capitalize on it and live the dream. And that's pretty much what I did. I worked like another month or something, and then I moved back to New Jersey, back into my parents' basement. So like free rent, holla. And then just like kind of working on my stuff for the whole summer.
Yeah, that's awesome. Definitely think the time between finished filming and then the first episode release was very crucial. To get yourself, because regardless if you was eliminated in the first episode or the last episode, you don't know what's gonna kind of come out of it, and you just want to make sure that you're well prepared for whatever it is. Obviously, you were eliminated last because, and so you knew you needed to like do this, because I think the worst thing that someone could do is kind of be like, oh well, I lost, like let me just go on and do everything normal, when things you have opportunities that could come to you that say if you prepare right, things could really kind of you could be ready for it. You know, when it comes, you can adjust with the flow, but if you're preparing and then you come ready for it, because that could make the biggest change, and you did that. So huge props and kudos to you for that as well.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been very stressful. It's been very overwhelming, but I'm honestly super grateful for the show. And like honestly, I'm like really surprised at like how well it's doing. Like we didn't know if the show was going to be a flop. Like we didn't know if things were going to work out. So a lot of times it felt like, oh, like, you know, all this like might be for nothing. But like, you know, just like the incredible amount of like love and support that I've been getting from like the fans and from my family and friends and everything, like really has been like the biggest blessing of it all. Like it really feels nice to be able to share this moment with everyone and to really have it like be worth something, you know, like it really is going to change all of our lives, I think.
No, definitely, man. Definitely. I'm super excited for the stuff to come from you as well. I got your guy's song as my alarm clock in the morning because it's popping and whatnot. It's popping. That song is popping.
It's true.
I'm critical of music too. I used to DJ all that stuff. I'm very critical of music. I don't like a lot of new music, but y'all song is popping.
Thank you.
It's popping.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on the Squid Game Aftermath podcast. I mean, it's a privilege, pleasure, and honor for you to get out here in person. You know, you came through New York, New Jersey style.
Everybody, I'm in Jersey, I'm in New York, so if anybody wants to link up, do anything fun, go crazy, you say the word, my DMs are open.
They open, man. They open. You gonna regret saying that. So before we get out of here, is there any last words you want to say to the people?
No, I mean, I just want to say, you know, I'm very grateful to have been a part of this whole thing. I'm very grateful for the fans, for all the like overwhelmingly positive attention. Stop hating on Ashley. Stop hating on Sam. Stop hating on Jackie. Jackie has literally never done a single thing wrong in her entire life. So please, like, she's a real one. She's so sweet, so gentle, so kind. Like, leave her alone.
Hate on Tim instead.
Yeah, no, for real. For real. And like I really like from the bottom of my heart, like I really don't like blame anyone for making any decision that they made in the game. Like it was like a one winner takes all situation. There was pressures that you guys don't even know. And like Loki, like the cast, like we're all friends now. Like we're not mad about it. And if we're not mad about it, you shouldn't be mad about it either.
Yeah, we're not mad about nothing that happened in the game. Outside the game, maybe some other things.
But
yeah. Just in the game, everything will happen. We shake hands, cool, good game.
Exactly.
And then we can move on.
Yeah.
So, well, cool, man. Thank you again for coming out. We out here, y'all. Appreciate y'all for tuning in to this exclusive with my boy Phillip in the building, aka Player 451. He's signing out. Peace and blessings to all y'all, and hope you'll have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, y'all. Love you.